Hello, and welcome to episode 189 of the Casual Tryhard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and today we are going to take you on a journey through the lifestyles of the rich and Dominarious.
That sounded way better in my head than the actual title is.
We might not be taking you on that journey after all. We will find out. We are going to talk about Dominaria United spoilers.
Yeah, it's time for our set review episode. So we're going to cover the limited archetypes just a little bit. We're not going to go super deep, but kind of give you an overview of what to look out for this weekend when you're playing, and then we're going to do some single card discussions.
Yeah. So if you would like to get at us on social media, all the links are in the description below. If you'd like to talk about how bad that title was, just be glad I didn't try to do my full-on Robin Leach voice. It's been a long time since I heard him, so I don't even think I can even know where to start.
Yeah, I don't. It's been a very long time. I don't think I could do it either. Aside from our social media stuff, we also have a YouTube channel where you can watch this episode. Or you can watch all our episodes there and kind of look at us while we talk at you. But this episode in particular, because I will have, hopefully it works out, I'm trying something new, but I will have images of cards on the screen as we're talking about them, so you can kind of follow along with us. Also, I've been getting really good at thumbnails, and I think some of them are kind of hilarious, so you should at least go check out our YouTube channel to check out my handiwork on the thumbnails. It's CasualTryhardMTG on YouTube. Two different ways you can help support the show that we would really appreciate. The first costs you nothing because you're going to be buying product anyway. Use our TCG player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Buy your whatever you're going to buy there, singles, sealed product, accessories, whatever you're going to do. And you'll help support the show at the same time. TCG player typically has the cheapest prices around, at least from what I can tell. That's usually where I buy from. And like I said, we get a percentage that helps keep the lights on here. If you want to support us a little bit more directly, patreon.com/CasualTryhardMTG. Give us a couple bucks. We'll get you access to our pre-show, which is kind of just another hour of us that you get to listen to. Completely unscripted. You never really know what we're going to be talking about, because we never know what we're going to be talking about. You also get to look at our show notes a little bit before the show goes live, so you get a sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about. And you get put on my mailing list for when I do givebacks. I sent those out Saturday. So all you patrons should be getting them by the time you're hearing this. They should be starting to arrive. So thank you. My givebacks are a thank you.
Thank you very much
for supporting us. If you want to support us, like I said, CasualTryhardMTG at Patreon, and chip a couple bucks in.
Mm-hmm. So we should probably get going into this.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to cover.
We sure do. Try and not make it a 3-hour episode.
And it's almost bedtime.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go over the limited archetypes. There weren't any gold cards that really struck us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's certainly some playable ones, but I think there was plenty enough for us to talk about in the monocolored stuff, so I don't think we're going to get too much of the gold colored stuff.
So blue-white, the archetype is go wide with instants and sorceries. So generating tokens, protecting them, and boosting them is apparently what the official Wizards verbiage is.
Yeah, a little weird because go wide isn't normally a blue-white archetype. Normally blue-white's like flyers or whatever.
Yeah, red-white is usually go wide.
Yeah, so something kind of new. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that works out. Next up is we have blue-black. Blue-black is a control deck in this format. They use card advantage to eke out a victory over time. They said it's the combination of instant sorceries and death.
Wow.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but yeah, that's pretty intense.
Intense.
Yep.
Red-black is a combination of death and aggression.
Ooh.
We got a lot of death going on there. Just like the swamp has a skull on it. Death this time. Right? Aggressive creature strategy and rewards you for having creatures die. So probably vaguely red-black sack on some level.
Yeah.
Maybe with like a more of aggressive slant, or just like red-black, all my creatures do something when they die.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to be sacrifice, and I don't
think there is
remember
a sack
seeing a ton
outlist.
ton of sack outlets in this set, so maybe not sack, but like value when they die.
Yeah.
Red green is aggression and ramp. I guess like black was death, red is aggression, so aggression and ramp. And it's a mid-range deck that uses domain cards.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's it.
That's it.
Yep.
Green-white is domain and go wide, because blue-white was go wide.
Yep. And I guess green
and
is
green
domain.
had domain.
Yep.
So it's domain, go wide. Right?
Yep.
So like, I think the green decks are all gonna probably, they mentioned here that this deck splashes, but like the domain deck's gonna have to splash multiple colors to make the domain cards actually do stuff.
Yeah, the I think the green blue deck mentions that as well. But we'll get to that one in a minute. But yeah, like green, like in the color pie, like makes use of land types, like changes them and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of fitting that domain is kind of centered around green.
Yeah.
Next up we have white black, and this is go wide and death. So yeah, I guess white is definitely go wide and black is definitely death. It uses a lot of small creatures that you sacrifice for value. So it's the go wide strategy where you're also like using those creatures, I guess.
Yeah. Just think, someone went to college to come up with go wide and death.
Yeah. I mean, these aren't my words. I literally copy and pasted this out of the article that was identifying the archetypes. So
yes.
Yeah, someone was paid to write this.
Blue-red is instant sorceries with aggression.
Yeah.
The uncommon here is pretty interesting. The blue-red like flyer that gives all your stuff +1/+0 and trample when you cast an instant and sorcery.
Yep.
So like this is like just basically like your stock spellslinger deck.
Mm-hmm. Yep, makes sense. Black green combines death and ramp. Black is death and green is ramp. It's
This is comical. this is like high on the unintentional comedy scale right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I went through and highlighted stuff, because I don't know, like the descriptions aren't great. But black green is a mid-range deck that uses stuff in the graveyard, kind of like black green always does. Pretty standard archetype.
And then red white is aggression with go wide.
Imagine that.
Someone dislocated their shoulder, tapping themselves on the back.
Oh yeah,
with all of these.
So good.
Oh, man, this is so great. My shoulder.
I know what I'll do. I'll assign an adjective to every color, and then that's what the archetype's gonna be.
Every time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've never played Magic before, but I gotta write this. What does black do?
Death.
Well, there's a skull. Death. Okay, check.
Yep. We got there.
Does white just do sun? No, go wide. Okay, go wide. Okay,
go wide.
Excellent. All right. And what's the last one here?
Green blue combines ramp and domain with instants and sorceries. So ramp and domain from green, instants and sorceries from blue. It's a base blue-green deck that splashes a bunch of other colors to use big splashy domain effects.
Yes.
Yep.
So we have, what can we guess about the limited format? Other than there will be death and going wide.
And ramp and aggression.
And ramp and aggression.
Yep.
And instants and sorceries.
Instants and sorceries.
You
know, the classic archetypes of aggression.
The classic archetypes. So there's dead instants and sorceries, and then aggro instants and sorceries. So you gotta make sure they're separate.
Right.
Well,
you can't mix them.
No. So my first thought is like, I mentioned this before, like the enlist mechanic makes me think there has to be like either that mechanic is totally unplayable and limited, or you get to be aggressive. Right. And so, like, usually when you have an attacking mechanic, like the format ends up being a little bit more aggro than it would otherwise be.
Yep.
But then on the flip side, you're like, here's a domain that does like nothing until you have like 4 lands on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So again, I'm hoping for like a slower format where like enlist looks as bad as it plays as bad as it looks. I mean, I understand why they did it because they don't want to turn every one of your creatures into a vehicle.
Right.
Right, where like they just all have pseudo haste.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
So, but so I think that my guess is that mechanic probably doesn't hit, and then the format ends up being like slow, and you get to do like big wild things.
I hope so. We'll find out this weekend.
We will.
Yep.
All right. What are our first set of cards here?
So the first set of cards is a cycle. We're going to talk about the defilers. This is a cycle of cards. They all have similar formatting, all do similar things. There's one for each color. The first one up is Defiler of Faith. It's 3 white for a 5/5 Phyrexian human with vigilance. And all of the defilers are going to do this next part. As an additional cast to cost, in this case a white permanent spell, you can pay 2 life. Those spells cast a white less to cast. If you paid life this way, this effect reduces only the amount of white mana you pay. So it lets you change 1 Phyrexian pip on the card, or 1 white mana symbol on the card to a Phyrexian white. And then also they all have an ability, and this one is whenever you cast a white permanent spell, make a 1/1 white soldier creature token.
This cycle is one of those cycles that like there's a good one, and then there's the other ones. This one's.
I think there's 2 good ones.
I think there's 1 probably, if I'm remembering correctly. So we'll see.
Okay.
I think the upside of this one is a lot of the other ones ask you to already be ahead.
And this one.
And this
can
one,
catch up.
Yeah, if you're behind, like. You know, you could play this, pay 2 life, and play a portable hole. Well, portable hole's rotating.
Yeah.
Bad example. But, right, you could play like a 1-drop and end up with like some bodies on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, like, are they really designed to catch you up, though? Because if you're behind, you may not have a ton of life to play with anyway. Which
this is fair.
Kind of negates the point of, like that's the draw of these, right? Whatever the ability is kind of secondary to like being able to trade your life for mana.
Yeah. I just like if this card isn't good if you're like behind or at parity, I don't know when it's good.
I don't think
right?
It is good.
Yeah, like you like any 5 mana 5/5 that you play regardless of the text if you're ahead is good. Right? So like I don't know if this one gets there.
Yeah.
Because, like, the 1/1s at this point might not be valuable, but at least, like, you can make chump blockers if you have to.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's take a look at the blue one. Oh, hang on.
I
clicked the wrong button. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yep, there we go.
There you go.
We'll take a look at the blue one. Yeah.
Defiler of Dreams. It's 3 blue for a flying Phyrexian Sphinx, and it's a 4/3. Has the same, like, cost reduction text. And then whenever you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card.
Yep.
Draw a card is almost always good.
It is, except the deck that probably wants to use this probably doesn't play a whole lot of blue permanents.
Yes. Like, blue decks don't typically play permanents, right?
Yeah.
They're playing instant. They're playing instants and sorceries. We had the last section. It told us. Told us. Island equals instants and sorceries. Also, like, a 5 mana 4/3 in a format that's going to have a braid.
Right.
Just seems like sketchy.
Yeah. Not a good
right?
idea.
Like, yeah, like, so you're gonna get your card back when you like play your flying men or whatever.
Yeah.
The turn this lands, and then like it just eats in a braid, and you're like, oh wow. I guess I spent.
I mean, to be fair though, it makes your protection cost life also.
Fair, yeah. You could like, no, it's only permanent spells. So it's not like you could like protect it with a dive down or like a well, not there's like
Spell
a new blue
whatever.
+1/+1 or like slip out the back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't. So like yeah, it just might eat like a removal spell. Maybe you get to turn your like your 1/1 flyer into like a cantripping 1/1 flyer.
Yeah.
But that's a lot for 5 mana and 2 life.
It's certainly
So
no Elder Gargaroth.
It is not a card that you're like, how do I beat this now?
Yeah.
This is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not big enough.
Yeah. Next one is Defiler of Flesh. This is the black one. It's 2 black for a 4/4 with Menace. Same Phyrexian mana text. And whenever you cast a black permanent spell, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and Menace until end of turn. I think this one's good.
I think it's good because it costs less mana than all the other ones.
Well, yeah.
Like that's its only upside. Like I don't know why this one got to be 4.
This one's playable. Like I don't the other two aren't playable.
Yeah. I don't like I guess I don't know what the like offhand what the other black 4-drops are in the format.
But
like I think kind of. He's kind of a 4-drop.
I mean, eventually he's a 4-drop, right?
Eventually he's a 4-drop. But like the thing here is it's just awkward, right? Like that this is I guess it can target itself to make it a 5/5.
Yeah.
But like it is awkward that like it kind of wants you to have other things on the battlefield.
Yeah, right? Like I mean it's incentivizing you to put things on the battlefield though.
Yeah.
Because of the Phyrexian mana text. And like the deck that this would go into more so than maybe not the white one, but way more so than the blue one, like is going to make use of that Phyrexian mana. Like you're going to play this alongside your Gutter Bones or whatever and like play this in 2 Gutter Bones.
Yeah. I don't think this goes back to like older formats though.
Oh no.
No, like whatever like there's the 2/1 skeleton
reassembling
in
skeleton?
This set.
Oh, the one in the yeah, we're going to talk about him later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the closest thing you have to that and that could be decent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one like I don't know. If it like it is like at that point where like if it was 5 mana it's unplayable.
Right.
At 4 mana it's playable, but is it good?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're talking about older formats, like there's no way this sees play over like Kalidas.
Yeah, no. No, but just like I don't think it goes beyond standard if
I don't think
if
so
at all.
Either. Well, let's talk about the next one then.
Oh, another 4 mana one.
Yep.
Defiler of Instinct, 2 red, first strike 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
Phyrexian Kavu, 4 Flame Tongue. Has that same Phyrexian mana text, and then whenever you cast a red permanent spell, Defiler of Instinct deals 1 damage to any target. It like a 4/4 first striker is like a beating.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing gets to block it really.
Right.
Like 1 damage to any target doesn't seem like enough.
I don't know. I don't think this one's great. I'll, put that out there right to start with. But by the time this comes down in your red deck, like those pings can add up pretty. Like by the time this comes down, you're already trying to close the game out, and those pings will add up quick.
But like the flip side of that is how many cards are in your hand? How many red permanent spells do you have to cast? Like if you're
probably not many.
If you're an aggro deck and you've gone and you've hit your 4th land.
Yeah.
Right, your hand is like this might have been stuck in your hand because you missed your 4th land drop the turn before.
That's true, and I guess that also means that you really don't get to use the Phyrexian mana ability either.
Yeah, like it just seems like it's like I don't know what the right ability would have been for it to be red, but it just doesn't seem like this is it. Like 4/4. Like maybe if you got the
This thing would be
exile.
busted if you exiled the top card of your library and then could play it.
That's what I was like. Like that's kind of like what the blue one does.
Yeah,
but like they
usable.
probably have to make it cost. But they'd have to make it like an extra mana.
Yeah.
Right. It'd have to be 5 at that point.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know. This one feels like it's like a lot like the last like 4-drop that got played in like a red aggressive deck was Torbrand, right?
Yeah, probably.
And that was because like
well, I mean,
he
like
just made all of your.
There was a gold span. I mean, it's
But
not a
not-
4-drop, and that really
but that
didn't
was
go
like
in
an-
aggressive decks.
I guess what was the other one? Experimental Frenzy.
Yeah, but
Right.
like Experimental
And that was
Frenzy
just, like-
was your catch-up mechanism.
Yeah, it was just a card advantage engine.
Yeah.
Right. This is kind of like in a weird spot where it's just like, here's this thing, and like all of these, even the last one, have this like problem with like it's old magic
Right.
where it's like this has to resolve.
And you
I
need
have
to turn
to
deck.
tap with it, and then things are good.
Yeah.
And like, this is just gonna eat like, that one in the black, kill a thing, lose 2 life.
Yep.
And not gonna do anything.
Right.
It's gonna be like, okay, I spent 4 mana to just like, is it not Infernal Grasp, but whatever. Maybe it is Infernal Grasp. Anyway, to like eat a 2 mana removal spell.
Yeah.
And then I lost the game.
Yep.
Like what happened? Well, my opponent played a 3 mana 3/3 that ate a card out of my graveyard, dealt me a damage, and if I tried to kill it, I had to discard a card. So I just played a 4/4, and then they
lost 2.
they killed it. They lost 2 life. Then they ate it and gained that life back and dealt me 1.
Right.
And then I lost to their 3-drop. Oh,
Cool.
cool. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yep. All right, so
Now
you
this
want to
next
talk
one.
about the good one?
I wonder who designed like. This is the classic green card,
It is.
right? It's 3 green for a 6/6 trampler. So
Elder Gargoyle.
bigger than all of them.
Yeah.
Bigger than all of them. Oh, you're a 4/4/4 strike. Get wrecked, nerd.
Yeah, cool.
6/6 trampler. Has the Phyrexian text, and then whenever you cast a green permanent spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature.
Yeah, that's
you
all of them.
control.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. So which one the black one
The
gave
black one
a
gave you
temporary
+1/+1.
bonus to 1 creature.
And this is like all of them. Now, it is definitively that like you have to have a board.
Yeah.
Right? But as Elder Gargaroth taught us, a 5 mana 6/6 is a board unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like
Well, I mean, it's
if
not
they-
it's not a 6/6 though, because like given it survives to your next turn, it's at least a 7/7.
yeah, because you're going to play some green permanent if you've built a green deck.
Right.
Right? Well, I mean, unless you just play ramp, right? Because green is ramp.
True.
True. Like, but this one is good enough, like on stats, that it probably is just fine on an empty board.
Mhm.
And if you've ramped this out a little bit and you have like 2 creatures in your hand or a creature and another permanent spell, and you're just like, creature, play another permanent. This gets 2 counters. Your creature gets a counter.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, like I have an 8/8 and a thing that is 1 bigger.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
How far have we come from force of nature?
Really? I don't think it's Elder Gargaroth good.
Well, it's not a mythic. It's only a rare.
Fair. But like it is.
I mean, these could have easily had another like line of text and then be mythic.
Yeah, I also feel like they could have just been mythics.
They'd have been. I don't know. They're
Do
kind of
you
weak
think they would have been
mythics.
cranked up more?
Oh yeah, 100%. If they were mythics, they'd be cranked up more.
Yeah. So this one feels like the good one. I think I saw it described like you've got one that is S tier and the rest are like C plus and below tier.
Yeah, I'm not completely giving up on the black one. I think the black one's okay,
Fair.
but I mean, it's definitely not on the same level as this guy.
yeah, like it just doesn't make sense. Like who designed these cards and thought like, yeah, this is a balanced cycle.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how that happens, but
Yep.
yes. Also, I think this card is definitely like unbeatable and limited,
Oh yeah, 100%.
right? Do you have a removal spell? I do not. Please
win.
pick up all of your cards.
Yeah.
You are done now.
Shuffle and proceed to game 2.
Yes. I will show you the permanent spell I'm going to cast.
Yep.
Do you have a removal spell?
Yep.
Cool. Because it's not even resolve. If it goes on the stack, you get
cast.
counters.
Yep.
So, yeah. I think best card to open in your sealed pool. Pretty close.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely in the discussion.
I don't know all the mythics offhand, but
Yeah,
this one is up there.
I mean, Lily's pretty good to open in your sealed pool, I would imagine.
Probably.
Lily's probably pretty close to unbeatable.
So what do we got next?
Next,
what
we
are our
have
next cards?
another cycle. I figured normally we do the cycles at the end. I figured we do them at the beginning this time and kind of shake things up a little bit. So
people are pretty hype about these cycles.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this next cycle.
Okay.
This next cycle are all lords. So there's a lord for each color. I think they're all 2 mana. We'll find out in a minute. So they're all cheaper than traditional lords. I know lately we've had some lords that were only 2 mana, but traditionally lords started at 3 mana.
It depended though, right? Like the old goblin lords were 3. But
that's true. Lord of Atlantis was only 2.
Lord of Atlantis was 2.
Yeah.
But like I don't.
Archdruid was 3.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
They have to make the Merfolk lords too, just because it's Merfolk.
Yeah. The first one we have is the white one. It's Valiant Veteran. 1 and a white for a 2/2 core soldier. Other soldiers you control get +1/+1. And then you can pay 3 white and exile it from your graveyard to put a 1/1 counter on each soldier you control. I don't know that soldier tribal is like super relevant. Although I also did not go through and look to see how many playable soldiers we had.
Thalia.
That's true, Thalia.
I think Brutal Cathar is a soldier.
Brutal Cathar
wins. See, I think that there are some, like, also, like, the, like, tier, like, F- legacy deck of mono white soldiers.
Soldier Stompy.
Yeah, that has the secret ability, all my creatures have first strike.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I mean, I think this is fine. Like, I think in standard, they're like with Thalia and Brutal Cathar and like a little bit of work, there's probably enough soldiers to like tie together the mono white deck.
Could be.
So I don't think that is a bad.
This one's also unique because it's not like I don't know how to say this. Like, it's not race based, if that makes sense. It's job based.
Fair.
Like,
fair.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, from a creature point of view, or not point of view, but yeah, I guess looking at creatures, like,
yeah,
there's things that, like, this could steal things from other tribes. Whereas if you're, care about elves, you're not going to steal cards from the humans deck because they're not elves. Whereas this can steal cards from the elves deck and the humans deck.
Yeah, it's a core soldier, but it pumps soldiers and not core.
Yeah. Yeah, it cares about the job, not the race.
Yes. I really, and like, I know they can't. This should have just been a human lord.
It would have been way too good in modern, though. Like, modern humans would have been.
That deck's totally unplayable. If it, like, makes the deck, like, playable at all, then, like, fine. But, like, when's the last time, like, anyone's put up a result with modern humans?
Yeah, but then just, like, every creature in the deck is a lord. Like, it's basically Slivers at that point. Although I guess Slivers isn't exactly playable, so.
That deck only has, like, Thalia's Lieutenant, which is, like, a pseudo-lord. And then the other lord it had to play was Mayor of Averbrook.
Well, no, because Champion of the Parish is kind of like, it's kind of a lord. I mean, not to other creatures, but to itself.
Yeah. And like, if you want to say that they played General Kudrow, but like, I think they still have Mantis Rider in that slot. Like, if I don't think they care about balancing cards for Modern based on Modern Horizons 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
maybe they were worried about like humans being a thing in Pioneer then.
That I don't know if that's a bad thing. But yeah, like maybe it is too good, but the white one feels like it should have just said human.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made more like thematic sense for it to be a human.
Yeah, because like you said, they were like, okay, can't do the race that we would totally do for this one.
Yeah.
So we've got to make it job based.
Yeah.
Because the blue one is the race.
Blue one is the race. What's the blue one?
Blue one is Valdarin or Valdalin. There we go. I can't talk. Hexcatcher.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1 in the blue for a 1/1 flash.
Ooh, sneaky.
Merfolk. Other Merfolk get +1/+1. And it has sacrifice a Merfolk. Counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1.
So it turns everything into a curse catcher.
Turns everything into a curse catcher. Thus its name.
Yep.
And also because it has flash, right? Like it is
a combat
on
trick.
Some level. Yeah, combat trick. Plus, I was thinking it's also, what is it called? Like Jawara Disruption,
mm-hmm.
right? Limited.
Oh yeah.
But like
yeah.
if you pass with 2 mana up, are you casting a counter spell? Are you force spiking their Ren and 6 with your Hexcatcher? Like,
right.
What does that 2 mana mean in your blue deck?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or like, or is your opponent just gonna like pass the turn and you're just gonna flash in this?
Yeah.
And then like, whatever 1-drop Merfolk you have just like eats the removal spell, and now you're like off to the races with your lords.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't been like super involved with Pioneer in a while, but at one point, like Simic Merfolk was not laughable to play in Pioneer.
Yeah, like I had mentioned like in the Discord that like the problem with like mono blue Merfolk in Pioneer is like there aren't any non-embarrassing 1-drops.
Right.
Like all the 1-drops are just god awful. And like Simic is better, but the green 1-drop is like, I really need you to control an island.
Yeah.
And it's like my mana base is gonna be blue-green pathway. Like 4 blue-green pathways, 4 botanical sanctums.
Yeah.
Probably 4 Yavimaya Coast because I can't have tapped lands in my deck.
Right.
And then I'm gonna get to like 4 stomping grounds. Or not stomping grounds, 4 breeding pools.
Well, the green one cares about an island or another Merfolk, though.
Oh, is it an island or another Merfolk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But like, I don't know. Like it would be better if you could play mono blue, but maybe blue green works, and having 2 lords is enough.
Yeah.
But this is also interesting because like it gives you a way to like protect your board against non Supreme Verdict Wraths.
Right.
Which like that's what like annihilates creature decks.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially tribal decks, yeah.
Yeah. You're just like, oh hey, I got all my tribe people out, and it's like, yeah, kill them all.
Yeah. And
so at
like
least
Silvergill's legal from Ixalan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's another piece.
So you have, but like the 1-drop, like there's not a second like good 1-drop.
You have the one that's unblockable. I mean, it's not good, but
yeah, you have that one. I mean, you also have the weird one that like you sack it and containment priests everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like, that almost feels like a sideboard 1-drop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like just the fact that like modern Merfolk is now like 16 lords.
Yeah.
and some utility fish.
Mm-hmm.
But utility it's just like
fish. Your Swiss Army fish.
Yeah, Swiss Army fish. It's just like, here's a pile of lords. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I guess they made it 1 in the blue so you could play it in like to make Merfolk because like it being blue would just kind of be backbreaking.
Yeah, well, I think they're all like one in a color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the green one is green, I think.
Well, we'll get to it in a minute.
Okay. What's up next?
Next up, we have the black one, Shadowrite Priest. 1 and a black for a 2/2 human cleric. Other clerics you control get +1/+1. You can pay 3 black, tap it, sacrifice another cleric, search your library for a black creature card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
Tutor target Razaketh.
Yeah, like that's all that this does, right? Like, is clerics a thing?
Not that I know of. I mean, they've tried to push it. Like,
yeah, we had a couple cards in whatever set that was that cared about clerics, but
Zendikar Rising.
Yeah.
Was it Aura? The 2 black-white cleric that when a cleric died, you got to bring one back of lower converted mana cost.
Yeah. Well, you also
like,
had
that card's good.
Was it a mana rock that like was a blood artist for clerics dying?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some stuff, but again, this is another job lord.
Right.
Because they couldn't make him a human lord.
So
job
do
lord.
we call these bosses instead of lords?
Perhaps so. This is a boss.
Yeah, it's a boss.
Lord of the job is a boss.
Just like Valiant Veteran was a boss. This guy's a boss.
Yes. Like I feel like this card just only gets like.
Yeah, it's
like
just
is Grizzlebrand banned in Commander?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say because like this just gets Grizzlebrand in Commander, and but I guess it gets Razaketh in Commander.
I mean, Razaketh
only
is
gets
probably
Razaketh.
better in Commander.
Yeah, you only get Razaketh. This card gets nothing else.
It might get Shieldred.
Shieldred, or what is the the black reanimation target for Modern Horizons 2?
Oh yeah.
The Croxa plus the Uro.
Yeah, what is it?
I can't forget what it's called.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Archon of Cruelty.
Yeah, yep.
And I guess it can get Ashen Rider.
Oh yeah.
So there are a few things,
stuff.
But yeah. The fact that it's a tap ability, like he might just like eat a shock like every time he's played. But I think it almost does feel like a commander card because there's not enough clerics.
Yeah, I mean it's also like mana intensive.
Yeah. But if you told me like in 6 months we'd be like cheating this guy in on 6 mana and like getting some busted like Brothers War or like Phyrexian like Endgame, or whatever it's called, Mythic, I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess I can see it.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, it just feels like it gets like one
There's
card.
a bunch of stuff that makes cleric tokens too, right? Or maybe not a bunch of stuff, but like Westvale Abbey, I think makes cleric tokens.
Yeah, black-white clerics.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's gonna be hard to like
10
find
mana.
clerics.
You're not really cheating something at that point, but
you're tutoring for it though, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
All right, what is our next lord?
Rundvelt Hordemaster. 1 and a red for a 1/1 goblin warrior. Other goblins you control get +1/+1. Whenever Rundvelt Hordemaster or another goblin you control dies, exile the top card of your library. If it's a goblin creature card, you may cast that card until the end of your next turn.
I mean, in terms of abilities, this is almost exactly what you want on like a tribal lord, right?
Well, especially in goblins. Like goblins wants to like sacrifice the goblins as fodder for something else.
Or just like turn them sideways, and if you lose 1 or 2, it's fine, rebuild.
Yep.
And then like insulates you against a wrath.
Yep.
Also like with Skirk Prospector, right? You can just like work your way, like you don't have the putrid goblin thing, but like Skirk Prospector plus putrid goblin and like first day of class. I know I just said a bunch of things that I just like mentioned a pauper compo.
Yeah.
But like that just it's a lot of moving parts, but it just gets you through your deck.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you get to draw your entire deck.
Yeah,
with
I mean
this.
anything that like makes a token is much better. So like Goblin Instigator, like gets you through 2 cards with Skirk Prospector.
Yeah, and it doesn't say non-token.
Right.
So like you can just dig for whatever you need.
Mm-hmm. No, I think
Is
this
there
is pretty solid.
Is there a Gravestorm card that kills people? No, it's just Bitter Ordeal. Dang. Dang. All right.
Yeah, I think this guy's solid though.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's also we also had some good goblins in AFR, right?
Yeah, there was the hasty 3-drop. There was the 2. I'm trying to remember if there were any like.
Yeah, there was a 2-drop that was like a lord, and you could pay a mana, make a token or something.
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
There was a 2-mana good one too. But also like there's a bunch of like goblins in the 3-drop slot that make goblins every turn. We're going to talk about one of them later, but like Rabble Master, Legion Warboss, like this thing's awesome with them.
Yeah, because like you throw your tokens away and you just like it's like you either get hit or you get some cards.
Yeah, win-win.
So I think that is pretty solid. So I can see it.
Yep.
Like I think this one is like if there is like an aggressive like if like goblins get aggressive in like older formats, right? Instead of like kind of the toolboxy kind of grindy thing, like this just lets them like recover from like a wrath.
I mean it does, but I don't know if I 100% agree with you either. I think this guy fits pretty well into like combo goblins.
Okay, so there's Battlecry Goblin.
Okay.
It has pack tactics and creates a 1/1 when it attacks.
Okay.
It's tapped and attacking. And there's Hobgoblin Bandit Lord, which is a 3-drop lord. Has red tap, deal damage equal to the number of goblins that came into play this turn.
Okay.
I mean,
those
so
are
then
both
you
solid
have
goblins though.
Yeah, then you have this in first day of class and Putrid Goblin, and then this just kills them.
Yep.
There we go. We did it. We did an 85 card combo.
Got there.
Have to have your whole deck on the battlefield, but you get the.
Well, I mean, he gets you through the deck, so.
He does. He does. All right.
Get the ball rolling.
So then, this one here.
You're right. This one is double pips. It's a Leaf Crowned Visionary, green, for a 1/1 elf druid. Other elves you control get +1/+1, and whenever you cast an elf spell, you may pay green. When you do, draw a card. So it turns all of your goblins or all of your elves into elvish visionaries.
This feels modern and legacy playable.
I think so.
I definitely feel like you played in modern, right? Because modern plays the other, like the lore that you pay 6 and you go get another copy of itself.
Yeah, Clan Caller.
Yep. Right, like this almost feels like it's better than Clan Caller.
I think it is better than Clan Caller.
And now, Legacy doesn't play a card like that, but you can generate so much mana.
Well, I think you just put these in instead of visionaries.
Oh, you think? Like making all of your creatures visionaries?
Yeah.
But like you could, yeah.
Well, that way you get to loop Quirion Druids, right?
Was that the one that it doesn't pick? I thought Quirion Ranger.
Oh, maybe it's Ranger.
I think that one untaps a creature if you return a forest, and then there's Wirewood Symbiote, which bounces in. One of them bounces an elf to untap a forest, and one like bounces a land to untap an elf. Right?
Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, if you turn the one that bounces an elf, like that does double duty, because then you get to use its ability again. And draw a card.
Wirewood is return an elf you control to its owner's hand, untap target creature.
Oh, okay.
So this bounces an elf, and you can get to like redraw.
Yeah.
Okay,
so it doesn't quite work then.
Yeah, because like you usually like will bounce visionaries.
Yeah.
To like draw, but having some number of these like to just give you more cracks at that loop. And then Quirion Ranger, did I spell it right? I did not.
Quirion. Kyrian,
Let's see
I
here.
think.
I just cheated. I just put it in. Here it is. Return a forest you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature you control.
Yeah.
So, no, like I think the fact that it does just make all of your creatures Elvish Visionaries is a huge deal.
Mhm.
I don't know how you like rebuild that deck to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if you get into a situation where you're like, you have a cradle, right? You just get to like
Win the game.
you basically just get more glimpse of natures to some degree.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Right,
maybe
it's an
this goes in
expensive
instead
glimpse.
of glimpse.
Right, it is an expensive glimpse, but you just get to like go through your deck.
Yeah.
So like this one is gonna have a home in modern for sure. Like
Yeah.
if elves is playable, this is one of the cards in that deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then it might see a home in legacy. And I like this is the one I'm most sure of. And I think the Merfolk one, if like modern Merfolk can be a thing, I think it sees some play.
Yeah. I think the Goblin's good,
Agreed.
but we'll see.
All right, what do we got next? Into the colors now.
We are into the colors. We'll do white first because that's the order that it goes in.
Yep.
First up is Anointed Peacekeeper. 2 and a white for a 3/3 human cleric. Man, he's a buff cleric. Vigilance. As Anointed Peacekeeper enters the battlefield, look at an opponent's hand, then choose any card name. Spells your opponent's cast with chosen card name cost 2 more to cast. Activate abilities of sources with the chosen card name cost 2 more to cast unless they're mana abilities.
Or to activate.
Sorry, yes, to activate.
Yeah, the first one is cast, the second one is activate.
Yep.
So, you know, we have here part Elite Spellbinder, part like Phyrexian Revoker, like just a taxing thing. The big difference between this and Elite Spellbinder is if this dies, the effect goes away.
Correct. But you can choose something that's not in their hand also. Like if they don't have the piece that you're worried about, you don't care about their hand, you can still choose whatever, you know, for whatever's going to disrupt your plan the most.
I assume Wrath. Whatever 4 mana Wrath we have.
Yep.
It might fill the like Paulo slot as like the disruptive piece that like it plus Thalia to like try to make the white decks not get rolled by control.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where its home is. I think the body might be worse than Elite Spellbinder, right? Since it doesn't fly.
Because it doesn't have evasion, yeah.
Yeah. Right, like the odds of like this killing someone are pretty slim.
Right.
Where like I think like
Paulo could end the game.
We've all had an Elite Spellbinder like land when we were at 12 and we're like, I don't have a reach creature in my deck.
Yeah.
I don't have a flyer. I guess I lose to this unless I draw like 1 of 4 removal spells.
Yeah.
So, and like the ability to like tax a planeswalker, even like a planeswalker that's like not in play, like, you know, I'm going to make your Chandra or your Jaya, if we keep it in standard, that's 2 more to cast. And then you're probably not going to be able to activate that ability.
Right.
Right? Like you need 8 mana the first time to like play your Jaya and activate it.
Yep.
So it like buys you a lot of turns with planeswalkers. I think it probably fits in like standard mono white, but probably not good enough to go back any further.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But like I just want to point out that it is worded different than Paulo, so
it is.
Like if someone has one of these down, if you kill it, life goes back to normal.
This is true.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Yes, it is. So what's up next? What we got?
Next up, we have Sarah Paragon. 2 white for a 3/4 flying angel. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains when this permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield. Exile it and you gain 2 life.
First of all, completely and totally a nightmare for paper tracking.
Yeah.
Can I please have a bag of glass beads?
Well, I mean, you can kind of slide it out of the sleeve to denote that.
Yeah, but it's just like awkward.
Yeah,
like
it is.
This is non-command zone Loris.
Yeah.
Right? This is non-companion Loris.
Oh,
but
yeah,
Loris
it totally is.
Yeah, Loris didn't let you play lands.
So it's better than Loris, and it has evasion.
And it has evasion. It costs 1 more mana. Like, I almost feel like this gets,
Wow.
like, to some degree, it gets tireless tracker treatment.
Yeah.
Right? You play it on 5 to make sure that, like, you can at least play a land out of your... Like, if you have a land in your graveyard, if we have, like, the cycle lands or the fetch lands, or any kind of fetch land, like, you just get to play this out.
Oh, that's true. Fabled Passage isn't going to be in anymore, right?
I don't think. I think it rotates.
Yeah.
So, right, like, I don't know if we have, like, a playable fetch land.
Yeah.
But, right, like, it's Loris.
Mm-hmm.
We've already seen that effect is, like, answer it or die.
Yeah.
Even when
this doesn't let you keep looping, though.
It doesn't.
Loris.
It doesn't, but, like...
And that was kind of the problem with Loris, is you just kept playing the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm. So this does take care of that, but, like, you know, this has to eat a removal spell, or, like, your opponent effectively draws a card every turn.
Right.
And, like, and that card is more than likely going to be a spell.
Mm-hmm. And they get to pick
like,
it.
Yeah, and that's, like, not sustainable. But I think that it's not as good as Loris because you don't always have it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Loris, you always had it when, like, right, you could choose when you put it in your hand, or, you know, back in the olden times, you could just choose when you played it.
Yep.
Right? But you could always set up, like, okay, I'm going to be at, like, I'm going to get to turn 5, and I'm going to play my Loris, and I'm going to be able to play a 2-drop.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is 1 extra mana, and, like, you have to draw it.
Yep.
Which, like, makes it worse, but, you know, if it sticks out on the battlefield for a turn or 2, you probably win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your 2 and 3 drops are in any way, shape, or form impactful.
Right.
So, I think it's really solid, and
I also think it's really solid.
See standard play, like, it doesn't feel like it's, like, I've heard people like, oh, it's an angel, it could go in an angel deck, and it's like, I don't think it goes in the life-gaining angel deck.
I mean, it might, but not for what the reasons that would benefit playing this card the most, I don't think.
Yeah, but, like, in, like, some sort of, like, mid-rangey kind of deck, where, like, you just need to get back, like, your impactful 2-drop or something, like, you know, there's not a white version of this, but, like, some sort of, like, if there's a, like, the seals, right? Like, if they printed, like, some sort of seal that was, like, you know, kill an enchantment.
Yeah.
In standard, like, you could see this, like, oh, I can, like, play my seal and then play it again and kill 2 things.
Yeah.
And gain 2 life. Oh, that's great. So, but I think this is really solid.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Speaking of solid white cards.
Yes.
Temporary Lockdown. 1 white
Yes.
for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less until Temporary Lockdown leaves the battlefield. Portable hole of a board.
Yes. The only thing that, like, gives me pause is the fact that we have, like, Naturalize on a land in Beseiju.
Yeah.
But, like, so there is I haven't played a lot of ranked Explorer as of late. I've been, like, tinkering around and just playing unranked.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, getting the Mythic doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There, I said it. But, like, running into, like, there was, like, the blue-white, like, Ensoul Artifact, like, Patchwork Automaton deck. Like, this just, like, gets their scissors, gets their portable, gets everything, right?
Gets everything. Every card in that
everything,
deck.
Right? And, like, you know, the blue-white deck, right? Now, I guess they can get you with Slip Out the Back.
Yeah.
But, you know, it gets the creatures, it gets the enchantments on the creatures. It doesn't matter how big they've made their double striking guy.
Right.
Right? It just gets it all.
Gets around hexproof.
Yeah. Also, like, in older formats, like, I don't know how playable, like, black auras is in Pioneer, but this is just a destruction.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of gives me pause on this card is that, like, in these decks that are playing lots of 1 and 2 drops, like 1 and 2 drops aren't the same as they used to be. Like, say we're playing Pioneer and I'm playing red black, and I have, you know, a Voldaren Epicure and a Blood Tithe Harvester or whatever, and you play this to, you know, bide some time against my onslaught, and then I kill it. Like, all that stuff happens all over again when it comes back.
Like, this card...
And black kills enchantments now, so...
This card leaving the battlefield, you lose the game every time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but it's one of those, if it doesn't leave the battlefield, you win the game. And right, it, like, sometimes, like, you've got to, like, roll the dice that they don't have it. Yeah. Now, maybe it is just better to, like, play, like, Deafening Clarion or Anger of the Gods or, you know, a Foretold Doomscar. Right? But, like, because this is fragile. But there are definitely times where, like, you know, being able to play this and get, like, you know, an oven, a treasure token, a trail of crumbs.
Yeah, I mean, with tokens, it's great.
Yeah, like,
the tokens
and, like,
just
get a bunch of stuff. But no, definitely it does have the downside of, like, all, you know, enchantment based removal of, like, oh no, what if it comes back?
Yeah.
What if it goes away? But, like, I think this has, like, if you're in a meta game where, like, you know, like, Deafening Clarion, Anger of the Gods isn't good enough, right? Like, where people are making creatures that outscale those kind of effects, or, like Doomscar, then you're just, like, and Doomscar doesn't work because, oh, they put, like, scissors on a Darksteel Citadel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, then this is kind of what you get to play. I mean, it has downside, but, you know, if they board in, like, 2 pieces of enchantment removal, and, like, they don't draw it, or they draw it late when you've had a chance to stabilize and, like, kind of prepare for it to die, then you're golden. So, I don't know, it really feels like it's going to have a home somewhere, but it is fragile.
Yeah. That was the only thing I was worried about. I mean, I think the card's solid. I was just pointing out the fact that if this thing ever leaves the battlefield, you're probably...
Oh, you lose. You lose.
Yeah.
But, like, it might be one of those things, like, it's like in cubes when you would, like, play, like, Paradox Wave. Or Parallax Wave.
Parallax Wave.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, well, I'm going to eat 3 things, but in 2 turns I'm going to, like, lose. So I've got to figure out how to, like, win this game or get to a point that I don't care that the stuff comes back.
Yeah.
And this might have to be a situation where, like, I've got to plan on this dying in, like, 3 turns.
Yeah, so I got to set up my next Wrath or keep counter magic up or something.
Yeah, I've got to, like, protect it or something. But, like, this might be, like, gross in, like, blue-white control decks, right? Yeah. Like, you try to get under them, and they just have this, and then they're just like, all right, I've got to, like, sweat a turn, and now I'm going to have up counter magic or something.
Yeah.
Or with, like, Urian.
Like, oh, yeah.
Because
I mean, blinking this thing's great, because then it just keeps. Well, I guess it depends what the value is, but it just keeps like collecting things in lockdown.
I mean, also, like, if it, like, you could also take all of your, like, Thassa's, whatever they are. Gosh, I want to say Ordeal, but that's the wrong one. This is the second time I forgot the name of this card. The enchantment.
Yeah.
Right, like, if you put in, like, you stick your Thassa's whatever's under it, right, and then they blow it up, you draw 2 cards and scry 4.
Yeah.
Right, so, like, I'm like, sure, you can blow it up, but I'm going to get some value out of this, too.
Yep.
So, all right.
Moving on from white. Academy Lore Master. Blue for a 2/3 human wizard. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player may draw an additional card. If they do, spells they cast this turn cost 2 more to cast.
I might be wrong, but I think this card is really bad. And everyone's talking about like, oh, and like draw go control. It's like good because it's not going to impact you.
Well,
I'm just like, I don't think this card's good.
there's two circumstances where I can see this card being good. Number one is I really wasn't thinking about draw go control, but we've been like at various points in time there has been some sort of either blue or Simic flash deck that I think this card could be pretty solid in. Lets you draw, like you don't want to play anything on your turn anyway.
Yeah.
So you get to do whatever you want on your opponent's turn while still drawing extra cards. So I think it might be all right there. Although, for the reasons you just said, like, I mean, it's fragile and it of itself isn't like part of that game plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other place where this, might be relevant is in some type of land strategy where like you just have a bunch of lands and you don't really care about your spells because your spells are just lands.
Yeah. I was just like, there seemed like there was a lot of hype around this card, and it's not like a card that can go in like every deck. Like you said, like it's got to be something where you're not casting spells on your turn. But I worry about like even Flash to some degree, right? Like you're trying to like trade and like kind of run them out of cards to some degree, or like, and if like,
well, it's God tempo, so you're looking to stay ahead on tempo, and like this card by itself is not tempo positive. That's why I said like it doesn't really fit into the game plan, because you're like you're taking your second turn off to do this to like pay you off in the future, and that's not something that typically tempo decks want to do.
And the Simic decks are often like, I want to grow spiral on 2.
Yeah.
So I have 4 mana up.
Yeah.
So then I can Night Pack Ambusher.
Rewind Night Pack, yeah.
Yeah. And like doing this on 2 and then getting like stuck on 3. I mean, maybe it helps you hit your land drop. But I don't know. Like I don't think it's that like good. And it might be if you build around it, but I don't think it's just like innately like, hey, this is a good card.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's like absurdly powerful. That they were just two places where I thought it was like not necessarily where you would think first to put this card, but I think it has relevance in those two places.
All right, what do we got next? Got Aether Channeler, right?
Aether Channeler, yeah. 2 and a blue for a 2/1 human wizard. When Aether Channeler enters the battlefield, choose one. Make a 1/1 white bird with flying. Return another non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or draw a card.
This card is like never bad.
Yeah, I mean, it always does something relevant, right?
It always does something relevant. I mean, I kind of feel like it has probably 2 modes, which is bounce a creature, draw a card.
Yeah, you probably never make that word.
Bouncing non-land permanent, bounce a planeswalker, draw a card.
Yeah.
I was thinking that like if Bant humans in like Pioneer could be a thing, right? Like, you have this because like those decks played Baron, which was legendary, harder to cast. I think it might have had Flash though, but it only bounced a non-land permanent. Right. This does that, and then when there isn't a permanent, draws you a card.
Yeah.
Right. So like having like effectively 8 Reflector Mage things to collect a company into just like means that you get to like beat up on creature decks.
Yep.
And then like I guess a control deck getting that like Reflector Mage is bad, this still draws you a card or makes you an extra body.
Yep.
So it just seems like it does enough. It's one of those cards that like it's not gonna jump out off the page or like out of a deck. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the best card in this deck.
What was that card in Strixhaven? It was the same thing but black. And like you never built a deck around it, but it went in like
Callous Blood Mage?
Yeah. It just went in like every deck because there was always a mode that was relevant.
Yeah, it's it's the same kind of thing, right? That made a pest.
Yeah.
It drew a card, and then its other mode was exile player's graveyard.
Yeah.
And I feel like bounce a permanent is probably better.
It's better in more circumstances. Like when nuke a graveyard is relevant, it's very like you care about that more than bouncing a thing, but it happens less.
Yes. But like I know, I just feel this card just feels like it is just generically good and one of those cards that will like find a home.
Mm-hmm.
But won't ever be like, oh wow, like the reason this deck is playable is because of Aether Chandler.
Right.
But it'll be like one of those like glue cards that just like holds the thing together and no one notices.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like that would have been anything else, I would have been dead.
I brought up the Callous Blood Mage for a reason though.
Okay.
Do you think we're working on some sort of super cycle here? Where we're gonna get one for each color?
It is too odd.
Yeah.
That they're the exact same mana cost.
Same stats.
The exact same power and toughness. They both make a creature.
Yeah.
They both draw a card. And then
they both do its color.
They both do a color thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could see the red one be like bird, maybe not draw a card, but like exile to your next turn.
Yep.
And then deal 2 damage to something.
Ooh, yeah. I mean that might
be too good. Or maybe deal the damage to something.
Yeah.
Right? Something red.
Or like make something not be able to block or something.
Something like that.
Yep.
But like you could definitely see a cycle of these appear over the next like year or two.
Was Callous Blood Mage a human wizard?
He's a vampire warlock.
Vampire warlock, okay. My mistake.
But effectively the same thing.
Yeah.
It is I would like a black creature type and something that sounds wizardy but blacker.
Right.
Warlock it is.
So the red one will be something shaman.
Exactly.
Yep.
A Viashino shaman.
Yep, there you go.
The white one will be a human cleric or something. Human soldier.
Paladin.
Yeah, there we go. Paladin, so it can like gain you some life.
Yep.
Gain 2 life. Okay, this one only has 2 modes. Yep. I mean, like we basically have that card and that stupid angel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna draw a card and gain 2 life. Excellent.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, no.
I forgot about that. You get to pick 2 modes on that one. That's all the white one's going to be. It's just going to be reprinting Inspired Overseer at rare.
Inspired Overseer at rare. Exactly. They'll like stick some like garbage third ability on it.
Yeah.
Like, but it'll just be like, oh, it's just this. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It'll be it won't have flash, but it'll be mana tithe.
Yeah.
Target spells countered unless its controller pays 1.
Sorcery speed. It doesn't matter. It's still the best card in the set.
You have to like Aether Violet in or something.
Like, did you know that card like had like a higher win rate in limited than like all but like 6 rares or something?
I mean, does it surprise you?
No,
but
like
we
it's
called
just
that
like,
card out as absurd in our set review episode.
It's like why did we just power creeped another card out that we printed like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right. So. Oh yeah, this guy.
Oh yeah, this guy.
There's a lot of Brian suggested this cards.
Well,
section.
Most of these I already had on the list. I just wrote your name next to them to remind me not to delete them because I was trying to pare the list down a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So I heard you like what's his name? Seasoned Pyromancer.
Mm-hmm.
So Battlewing Mystic, 1 of the blue for a 2/1 bird wizard.
Mm-hmm.
And it has flying.
It does.
And so a 2/1 flyer for 2 has been a playable Magic card.
It has.
I think it still might be, but it's close.
Say so.
But this also has Kicker of Red, so it becomes 1 blue red.
Mm-hmm.
When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, discard your hand and draw 2 cards. you can discard 0.
Absolutely. This is the
Late,
same trick as Bedlam Reveler.
yes,
Or Seasoned
late in the game.
Pyromancer.
Yeah, late in the game, this card just reads 3 mana, draw 2. It's a 2/1 divination.
Yep. 2/1 flying divination.
2/1 flying divination on turn 7.
Yep.
Right? On turn 3, it's just a 2/1 flyer, unless you're a mad lad. But and later in the game, like, this is like the thing you want to top deck.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, this is like a card that, like, unless like in limited, I'm not playing this on 2.
Right.
Unless, like, I know I'm the beatdown. Because this is just 2 freebies later.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I just think that, like, having, you know, what was a $70 Modern Horizons Mythic
Mm-hmm.
At uncommon in standard.
Wild.
Right. Wow. It takes more work, but, like, you still have that upside of just, like, oh, hey, I get to draw 2 cards, like, some percentage of the time. Or, like, you know, I have 2 lands in hand. Okay.
Yeah.
I drew this before I got to empty my hand. Fine, I'll discard these 2 lands.
Yep. Turn them into something that matters.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, this is the best part of Seasoned Pyromancer without the part that you have to work at.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the elementals.
Yeah, the elementals you got to work for. Like, realistically, you're not playing that card and, like, trying to get to 5 mana to make 2 elementals out of your graveyard. Mm-hmm. And unless you're, you know, picking and choosing what you're playing, trying to, you know, sculpt your hand in such a way to discard something that's going to gain you value later, you really don't want to put, you know, actual Magic cards in your graveyard.
Yeah.
So this is just the best parts of Seasoned Pyromancer.
Yeah, and, like, it gets to cost, like, 1 less mana a certain percentage of the time.
And it flies.
And, like, and it flies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it is wild where Magic Design has gone.
Yeah, at uncommon.
At uncommon.
Yep.
Get some.
Yep. Next one we have is the Naughty Djinn.
I thought he's the hottie Djinn.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'd say he's pretty hot.
Yeah, if you're into blue people.
It's one blue for a star 4 Djinn with flying. Its power and toughness or power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard, and instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
I just realized that maybe you and I watched Avatar differently.
I didn't watch Avatar.
Whew, those are some hot blue people. I found my kink. It's skinny Smurfs. So Enigma Drake has been a constructed playable card.
It has. I think I had a foil that I opened in Amonkhet or whatever that I believe I buy listed for like $7.
Baral has been a playable Magic card.
Goblin
Electromancer,
yeah.
Playable Magic card.
Goblin Necromancer.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've smashed those 2 cards together.
Mm-hmm.
And left the mana cost the same as Enigma Drake. Perhaps made it easier.
Easier
to cast. Right? Like, this feels like it just plays, right? Like, it avoids a braid, like it dies all the black removal, or most of it, but whatever. And, right, you get to, it's going to help you untap with it, right? Like, you're not going to die when you play, like, whatever, a 1/4
right
on turn 3. And then, like, if you get to untap, you get to cast 3 spells.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's huge and it's a problem. And they stack.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The cost reduction, you mean?
Yeah, so you're like, you play like 2 of these and then you get to play like 2 mana Memory Deluges.
Mm-hmm.
That'll do. Or like
well,
you play this.
It doesn't work with Memory Deluge, right?
It works on the front half because it's 2 blue.
Right, but doesn't Memory Deluge care about the amount of mana you spent to cast the spell?
Oh, so I guess you just would get 2 cards.
Yeah.
less good.
Well, I mean, it's
But, like,
still
you could-
like above rate. It's still better than divination.
Yeah. I mean, but you could play this and on like turn 4
Mm-hmm.
and have up make disappear,
Yes.
right, to protect it. Or negate to
Mhm.
protect it. Right? There's tons of times where like playing that blue-red deck that I would like play Enigma Drake and like just be all in on like I hope this dive down is good enough.
Yeah.
Where like it'd be way better if like I could have the choice of dive down or negate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, they have a wrath. I guess this dive down didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So like this gives you that ability. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people were playing like main deck negates because it helps them protect this.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this has a home in standard
yeah,
for
I think
sure.
so. I don't think it sees much play outside of standard. But...
No. I mean, I've seen people saying that Tempest Djinn may be better, and like Tempest Djinn is not seen any play anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like Tempest Djinn just required you to play islands.
Right. Well, it basically required you to play just islands, where this guy doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, but like if you're playing islands, like Tempest Djinn got big. This requires you to play this plus have played other stuff.
Yeah.
So a little bit more work, but I think it's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they printed an Enigma Drake in like 2 sets, like I would be like thrilled to put those 2 cards in a deck together and just like do that.
Hey, maybe we got a Phyrexian Enigma Drake.
Yeah. Crackling complete.
So this one's a weird one. Impulse is 1 in a blue for an instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And the reason it's weird is because this hasn't been like in a regular print set since Visions.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been printed a million times, but never in like a regular set release since Visions. Why do you think that is?
Because it's really good.
Okay.
Right, like
you think like modern power level has just caught up to where
I
Impulse
I
was?
think that like Impulse was like one of those like spells that we designed and we didn't realize how good it was.
Yeah.
But the things it could get were such trash it didn't matter.
All right.
Right? And now like it's kind of like we never had Opt in standard.
Right.
Now Opt is just like a throwaway card.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where we were like, well, no, we need Consider now.
Yeah.
Right? Remember Shimmer of Possibility?
Mm-hmm.
I played that card unironically in like Magic tournaments.
Yeah.
Like I drove 2 hours to resolve the card Shimmer of Possibility. Right? This is just better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it lets you find your pieces that you need. Like congratulations, you never miss your 3rd land drop.
Right.
Right? I know it's a different time, but like Anticipate has seen play in standard.
Anticipate was a big deal when it first got printed.
Yeah. And this card is better than Anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I just thought it was weird, like as powerful as everything has gotten in the last 3-4 years, whatever. It's kind of weird that we haven't seen, something closer to this power level.
Yeah. If you are going to play this in standard, in paper, may I suggest spending about $2 and buying 4 of the man with the gold bars in the bag from Visions.
Yeah.
It's old border. It's got a Teferi quote on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything you could possibly want. Way better than this art.
Yeah, this
Just
art's kind of weird.
Yes. Not that the guy with the gold bars in the bag isn't weird as he's trying to steal them, but just cool.
Yep.
I was thinking, like, remember that for a while we had played, I'm probably going to bring this deck up again, the Neoform deck with the Storm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dual caster mage and...
Dual caster mage and...
Yep.
See, Seagate Stormcaller,
Yeah,
right? All that deck wanted was look at 4 cards, find a piece.
absolutely.
Right? Like, this just feels like a card that, like, finds its way into Lotus Field in Pioneer, right? Like that deck was playing Shimmer sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't have to anymore. I can, like, hold up Growth Spiral or Impulse, you don't know what I'm going to do,
Yeah.
on your end step. And, like, always find my Lotus Field.
Or you can hold up the next card we're going to talk about, which is
Yeah.
half of an Impulse and a Growth Spiral.
Yeah, we're the YOLO phase of, like, Magic design.
Yeah.
We're
just
joint.
Murrow's got his stapler out. He's just stapling cards together.
Joint exploration, which, if there's not, like, an altar with Snoop Dogg looking for a joint, like, I don't know, or Snoop Dogg, like, walking on a joint looking for stuff.
No. This has totally got to be the Elon Musk meme from Joe Rogan's podcast.
Okay, where then, like, he apparently got had to get drug tested for, like, 2 years because he had, like, a government contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they drug tested him for, like, a year. But okay. 1 in the blue, instant, scry 2, then draw a card. It has kicker green.
Mm-hmm.
If the spell was kicked, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So, turn 2, dig for a land, find stuff. Turn 3, if you decide to play it, dig for a land, put it on the battlefield.
Yep.
Again, this is like a Lotus Field card for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it might make it so Impulse doesn't get played in that deck because you're like, well, Scry 2's not quite look at 4, but I can get 3 cards deep with this.
Yep.
And
put
sometimes it just lets me ramp me.
Yep.
Like, this card is again, it's going to see play. Like, these effects have, like, been shown to be good. Like, it's the, like, -3 life on the Uro trigger. Right? Now, the 3 life on the Uro trigger mattered a lot.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of times you were just happy to be like, oh, I get to draw a card, put a land into play.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Yep.
Right? And you get to do this at instant speed. You can, like, again, hold up counter magic and be like, oh, is it, like, safe to go?
Yep.
Oh, I can. Great. Now, I guess, are they still in standard? No, Zendikar Rising leaves, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So in, like, Pioneer, because it says put a land card into play, you can't put a flipped card in.
True.
Because it's not a land in your hand.
Unless it's a flip land.
Yeah, unless it starts as a land.
Correct.
Right? But, like, you know, the Shatter Skull Smashing, Turn Timber Symbiosis, you can't put in with these.
Right.
Which is, like, a distinction from, like, Explore.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it is, again, it just does everything you want a card like this to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It digs you to the land when you need it to be a land. Late in the game, it's still got value because you don't have to kick it.
Yep.
Right? Like, what is the card? Deliberate is 1 in the blue instant scry 2 draw card that was in a recent set. It's still standard legal, I think. Right? So this is the same card with just, like, green put a land into play.
Yep.
Right? Like, I saw someone say that, like, all these kicker...
Right? Preordained scry 2 draw card?
Mm-hmm. But Preordained's 1.
Yeah.
But, like, people have said, like, these cards are all, like, all the kicker cards are just split cards. Right? This is a split card.
Well, I mean, that's not a distinction, but that's like a correlation that we've made in the past, though, when we've talked about kickers, is that they're kind of just a split card.
Yeah, but these feel like even more than usual, because, like, sometimes, like, kicker cards,
the front sides better.
Yeah, they got bigger.
Yeah.
Or something like, oh, my creature, like, these are just, like, these are 2 totally different spells.
Yeah.
Enjoy. It's
well,
okay,
that's
cool.
kind of what you get to do, though, when you have an off-color kicker cost, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this was just, like, you know, kicker for a blue, you wouldn't be putting a land into play. You'd be like, I don't know, doing something
You'd
blue.
scry 3 or
Yeah.
scry 4.
Yeah.
You'd be scry 4, draw a card.
Or like make your opponent salty or something.
Yeah. But like this is just like a really good split card.
Yeah.
Like this is a card that like both halves are good.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Right. Both halves aren't busted, but both halves are like good. And you'd be happy to play either half. So the whole card is great.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to black, we have Balduvian Atrocity, 2 and a black for a 2/3 Phyrexian Berserker with kicker red. It has menace, and when it enters a battlefield, if it was kicked, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, and then sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So
return target Storm Herald.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that.
Return target Greasy Boy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you got to be Mardu instead of Abzan, or Esper.
Yeah. I mean, we started off in Mardu.
We did. But then
And Mardu got tossed to the wayside.
Yeah. Maybe we come back to it.
Yeah, but I mean, what's it called? The reanimation spell, right? Like this might be more impactful than like Can't Stay Away. Like you lose the like, oops, I went on to turn 2 when your citrus supplier just like god flips.
Yeah.
But right, like this has the fail case of I'm a 3/3 for 3, which is not great in modern Magic.
2/3 for 3.
Oh, is it a 2/3? Oh, womp womp. But still, it's not like embarrassing.
Right.
It at least trades with a Blood Tithe Harvester.
It does. This was a card one of our listeners was asking about.
Okay.
They wanted to know specifically about pairing this with Blitz creatures. And I mean, I think that's pretty sweet. I don't know like if that's a game-winning strategy for Constructed, but it's something sweet you can do with it for sure. I mean, this
does
would
that
like
work?
Tenacious Underdog. Yeah, why not?
Like, isn't the trigger based on the fact when it has if you blitzed it? So when Tenacious Underdog dies and it's not blitzed.
No. Oh, you know, maybe that is part of the Blitz ability.
So like Blitz, if you cast a spell for its Blitz cost, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. So like, yeah, you don't get the Blitz draw card text.
Yeah, which is kind of the big thing with Blitz.
Yeah, but like I think any like
I guess you could
Blood
Blitz your guy and then like get it back with this and have it for good.
Could you?
Yeah, you Blitz your guy out and then sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step, and then you. Oh no, you don't get it for good. You're right.
Yeah, you don't get
it. You
but like
sacrifice it.
This with like a Blood Tithe Harvester, right?
Yeah.
You could like Blood Tithe Harvester, eat their 2-drop on turn 3, play another 3-drop, play this on 4, get Black Blood Tithe Harvester.
Yeah.
Presumably now have 2 treasures, and eat their next creature.
Bloods.
Yeah, I said treasure. Sorry, bloods. Who have 2 bloods.
Yep. Eat
their creature. So like, I think like there are some synergies there. Like I think Blood Tithe Harvester and this was really good.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't think of any creatures that give you something on the way in and on the way out in like current standard.
Yeah,
but
I can't either. The only thing that popped into my mind was but I mean that's asking a lot out of your Rakdos deck is to get to 7 mana.
Yeah. You like, I mean, even like something, Village Rites goes away, right? Gosh, it's so hard with rotation.
Yeah. Does it go away? I know it was in Kaldheim. Did we have it after Kaldheim?
We had it as a Strixhaven
Mystical Archive.
So I guess for the first time in like 3 years, there's that.
We
the
still have
2
Deadly
mana
Dispute
one.
though, right? Deadly Dispute doesn't go away, does it?
That was AFR. Did it get printed in another set?
No.
It get printed in a
AFR goes
Commander
away?
set. Yeah, I
Oh.
think, yeah. Does it? Was AFR last summer?
No, I thought AFR was fall.
Hmm.
It
We
was,
should look at the rotation schedule.
yeah.
I think it's uh
Oh no, you're right. It was summer. It took the
yeah,
place of the
it
core
was
set.
summer. Yeah. I can look at I can look at the renewal and see what they say here. Yeah, so we're losing
Zendikar, Kaldheim,
Zendikar.
Strixhaven, AFR.
Mhm. So there's the 2 mana, like when you sack a creature, draw 2 cards, gain life equal to its power.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now you're at 6 mana.
Yeah.
But like I like the Storm Herald thing, like
Mm-hmm. No, that's sweet.
the right, like the reanimation that you had like kind of pushed you into white because can't stay away.
Yeah.
And like this being red, and like your hope is when you bring him back, there isn't another turn.
Yeah.
So who cares? So yeah, but sadly doesn't work with blitz creatures.
Yep. Does not work with blitz creatures. Good call. Next up is Cult Conscript. Black for a 2/1 skeleton warrior. Enters the battlefield tapped. 1 and a black. Return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only if a non-skeleton creature died under your control this turn. So this is our Gutter Bones. And it's
It is.
uncommon.
Times are a changing.
Times are a changing. Also, like they've been doing stuff that cares about skeletons lately, haven't they?
Yeah, like if you told me like in 6 months there's gonna be like a Skeleton Matters Commander deck,
Yeah.
like, oh my, Jack Skellington.
Oh, well, you can't use that now because that's a part of Disney's new card game.
He's clearly in the Disney new card game.
Yeah.
You know, I bet you they don't have in the Disney card game. Death,
aggression.
They just have the emotions from Inside Out.
Yeah.
You just get that. You get Lewis Black as the closest. That's your mana symbol. It's just a picture of Lewis Black. So interestingly, you can activate this multiple times if you have a single creature that's not a skeleton die.
Now, why would you want to do that? Oh, like in response to somebody eating it or nuking your graveyard?
Or what if you have like a Viscerous here or some free sack outlet? Right? Like you can kind of like you would do with oh gosh, I'm so bad at card names. The zombie that you could cast from your graveyard only if you controlled a zombie. Gravecrawler.
Gravecrawler?
Right, where you could sacrifice Gravecrawler.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Basically, as much mana as you had.
Yeah.
So in increments of 2. Like if you had 6 mana, you could get 6 sacrifices with this.
I got you. I thought you meant all at once. I was like, that's weird. Why would you want to do this all at once?
But you could, but like, so you sack a cat to an oven.
Yeah.
And then you have some other way to sack this. You can just like pay 2 mana, get it back, sack it again, pay 2 mana, get it back, sack it again.
Yep.
So it's interesting in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And also like there's a chance that like it could maybe go into like some version of mono black in like either in standard or like it could find maybe a home in the Pioneer deck.
Mm-hmm. Also, Warrior's like a relevant job.
Mm-hmm. It is a relevant job. And apparently we've settled on that skeleton is a race.
Well, obviously.
Obviously, it comes before his job. So clearly it is a race.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like just so you get to sack it multiple times, you get as many sacks as you have like 2 mana.
Mm-hmm.
Could be useful. Like, you know, I haven't quite figured out how to get it in the cube yet, but like you have like, you know, a Mayhem Devil, this, and like a Nantuko Husk, and you're just like, oh, I'll deal 3 to you.
Right.
And end up with my 2/2 back.
Yep.
So.
Nope. I thought this guy was sweet. I thought it was weird that it was an uncommon, but.
Yeah, it is weird that like this got shifted down.
Yeah.
When like this effect, it was what Blood Chief.
We had Gutter Bones. We had, what was the guy from Cons?
That's what I was trying to think of. Blood something Marauder.
Yeah.
And then was it Tormented Hero? Was that
No,
from?
Tormented Hero was heroic.
Oh, it didn't come back.
Yeah, we
There's
did
one
have
more, right?
Yeah, the Dread Wanderer.
Dread Wanderer, that's it.
Yep.
And they were all rare.
Yep.
And this guy's just like chilling
Yeah, I
out
mean, you could
uncommon.
almost make like an entire deck of 1 mana 2/1s in black
Yeah.
that come back.
Remember when we just had Savannah Lions?
Yep. It's at rare.
Now we rare, and now we have like I can play all creatures that are recursive
Mm-hmm.
in black. Just all of them. I have 12 of them in my deck, or 16 in my deck.
Yep.
You kill them, they'll come back.
Yep.
There we go. Please don't have neg 2 to everything in exile.
Oh,
Just don't have that,
that'd
and
be
we're
a sad
good.
day.
That would be a very sad day.
Yep. Next one is a card that I wanted your opinion on. This is Cut Down. 1 mana for an instant. Destroy target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less.
I've been thinking about this card a lot.
Yeah.
And
So hang on,
like,
before you continue.
okay,
This kills everything that is a 0/5.
everything in the game.
It kills everything that is a 1/4.
Uh-huh.
It kills everything that's a 2/3.
Uh-huh.
Everything that's a 3/2.
Uh-huh.
Everything that's a 4/1.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's a 1/1. Everything that's a 2/2. Everything
Yes.
that's a 2/1. Everything that's a 1/2. Everything that's a 1/3. And
Yes.
everything that's a 3/1.
Everything. All of those things die.
All of those things die.
So, right, like, it has some holes,
Mhm.
right? But, like, I don't know how much they matter.
Yeah.
So, right, there are definitely times where, like, I've played a Risen Reef and my opponent has a Fatal Push in their hand, and they proceed to lose the game to the Risen Reef that they can't kill.
Correct.
Right? This is no longer going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the next game, I'll play a 4/4 Omnath,
Mm-hmm.
and with the draw a card trigger on the stack, they sack a treasure token
And kill it.
and they kill it.
Yep.
You can't do that with this.
Right.
So there are, like, I think, like, this is probably better than a non-revolted Fatal Push.
Oh, definitely.
In every case, like,
Yeah.
if you had a choice between I can't get Revolt in a Fatal Push or a Cut Down, I think you pick the Cut Down, like, every time.
Yeah.
I think that when you have Revolt on Fatal Push ends up being better.
For the, I think it's just barely better though.
Yeah, this thing's not picking off a lot of 4-drops.
Right. Hardly any.
Especially like a lot of modern 4-drops.
The thing that I worry about with Cut Down is, like we talked about at the top of this show, they just printed a whole cycle of Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of the defilers also pump power and toughness.
Yeah.
And it only, for the majority of creatures, it's only going to take 1 pump to get it out of range of Cut Down. Like, if you have a Grizzly Bear and you play Bear Lord, it can no longer be cut down.
But I feel like you just kill the Bear Lord. Right? Like, that's,
yeah, I mean, that's true.
Like, that's who's... So, there's, whatever his name is, a gold card we're not talking about, like, King whatever the 48th.
Yeah.
That's like a 2/2 that all of the creatures get +1/+1, and it costs 3 mana. Like, unless you can get Revolt, Fatal Push isn't doing anything.
That's true.
It might have to pick off, like, the 2/2 that you don't really want to kill.
Yeah.
Where this is going to get that. So, like, maybe in Pioneer and Explorer, Cut Down might be better than Fatal Push in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Because like you don't have the fetch lands to like get Revolt as easily.
Yeah.
Now, like in like Rakdos has the blood tokens.
Mm-hmm.
It has the treasure tokens from Fable the Mirror Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
So and like the sagas don't exile themselves, they just flip, right? But like the creatures don't have haste, so do they exile themselves? I don't know.
Well, one of them has haste.
One of them does, but like, so like I don't
They
think
have
that like
they have to exile. I think they exile and come back.
Let's look before we give these people bad information here. Because I was thinking Fable of the Mirror Breaker, right? Like you get, no, exile it. Yeah, so like I guess the Fable transforming gives you Revolt.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever come up. I don't think anyone's killed something off of the Revolt from a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So like maybe in Rakdos, maybe this like takes the place of like Blood Chief's Thirst. Like they sometimes play like one or two of them. It's slightly less flexible because it doesn't get Planeswalkers, but
also doesn't ever cost 4 mana.
It doesn't ever cost 4 mana. But like in that deck, Cut Down might not be as good because you have all these ways to get Revolt. But like in Mono Black, right, Cut Down might be better, or like you end up with like a 3-2 split between Cut Down and Fatal Push.
Yeah.
Because early in the game, like these are the same card.
Basically.
Right? I think later in the game is where the differences start to show up.
Yeah.
Right, but then like Cut Down also has like this secret mode of like kills a 5 mana like 2/2 like weird utility creature. Right? Like, you know, so like then it goes to being back on when like, you know, they always have like these like cards that are like 5 or 6 mana that like they do something big.
Yeah.
But like the body is small.
Right.
And then this is back on again.
Yep.
Depending on how big that effect is. I mean, I guess it lets you kill an Agent of Treachery before it like draws 85 cards and kills you.
Does in fact kill an Agent of Treachery. You still lose your thing, but
you're still boned.
Yeah.
You still lost the game, but you don't have to look at that stupid agent on the battlefield.
Is it weird that this guy has like Kozilek's crown on?
Oh, is that what it is?
Isn't that what it is?
It might be. Like I just was admiring his 2 swords.
Yeah. I don't know. It looked like Kozilek's floaty like head thingies.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know.
Weird.
But yeah, I think this card is a card that is going to be very like metagame specific. Right? Like I think in standard you just play it, right?
Probably.
It kills every 1-drop, every 2-drop, and the vast majority of 3-drops.
Well, I don't know. A lot of 3-drops are 3/3s now, and this doesn't.
This is true. But like there's also a lot of like I was thinking like Augur of Autumn.
Yeah.
Or the Realm Walker. Like the like 3 mana 2/3s or 2/2s with like busted ability on them.
Yeah.
This gets to get those, but it does like just get clowned by like a Bone Crusher Giant.
Yes.
So I mean, right? I mean, it gets a Brazen Borrower, which is like nice in older formats.
True. That is nice.
Right, without work.
Yep.
So this is one I think you're definitely gonna have to like play and like see how it works
if it's
out
good or not. It'll be conditionally good.
Also, unrelated. Guess how much Scryfall says Fable of the Mirror Breaker is?
They were ridiculous, like $22 or something last week.
The regular one is 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what? I guess you print a card that goes in every set,
Did you
in
get
every
yours?
red deck, in every format. Yes, I have mine. I got them a while back. I still paid what I thought was too much for them at the time.
Oh,
but apparently a deal.
I paid next to nothing for them because it was among the first cards I ordered for like
I think
$1
I think I
apiece.
paid like $5 a piece for them.
Yeah.
Which now looks like a genius move.
Yep. You're so smart.
Hey, it's your girl.
It is my girl. I don't know how much we have to say about Liliana of the Veil.
I mean, we might have some Zoomers that don't know.
Okay.
So what we gotta at least go through the card. We gotta give them that at least.
1 black for a 3 loyalty Planeswalker Liliana. +1, each player discards a card. -2, target player sacrifices a creature. -6, separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice.
So we were talking in the pre-show that this card defined Modern
For its entire early life.
Yeah, I think we settled on up until Ikoria.
Mhm.
Right? Like, things were getting a little wobbly after Modern Horizons 1, but then Ikoria hit and you had to choose between Loris Enjund and Liliana Enjund, and Loris is, like, perhaps in the top, like, 5 to 10 cards ever printed in Magic on power level.
Yeah.
Like, it's like bumping Mox Pearl off the list kind of deal. It's like, Mox Sapphire, you get to stay. Mox Pearl, maybe you gotta go. You're gone. But I can cast you a turn earlier. Okay, let me reevaluate. But Lily was like the card that defined Modern Jund.
Yep.
And it is wild that this is now a card we're just printing in Standard.
Well, I don't know if you remember back to M15, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to get a Liliana of the Veil reprint.
See, I heard it was M13.
No, it was after I came back to the game. No,
Okay,
M13 would have been when she was legal in Standard already.
Maybe Jerry, it was on the Arena Decklist podcast. He said 13, maybe he meant 15.
I think Innistrad was out, like Innistrad was legal in Standard then.
Because he had mentioned that it was like when Mono Black was good, that it might have been 15, it must have been 15, and that like Lily in the Mono Black deck would have just been silly.
Well, maybe, I think it was M15. Or it was either M14 or M15.
Somewhere in there. So apparently when Liliana was in Standard originally, she didn't make a big impact.
Yeah.
I think that, I think she's best in older formats. I'm not saying she's not going to be good.
Right.
Right, but like a lot of times in older formats, it's about like sticking a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And Lily's very good at dealing with a threat.
Yes.
Initially.
It's very hard to get around an edict.
Yes. Right? Especially in a deck that, like Jund, that is like a pile of removal, and the one thing they don't have a removal spell for, they've already cleared the board. Lily is just a 3-mana removal spell for that.
Yep.
Like in Standard where there's typically more creatures, but I feel like Standard has on some level kind of become like Modern used to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot less like I played a 2-drop and a 3-drop kind of deal.
Right.
There's a lot more like, I have a Hinata. Okay, cool. Now there's also like, I have a garbage goblin token from my $20 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But right, like she also has Tenacious Underdog.
Yes.
Right, like that's just like a ready-made, like I'm gonna plus my Lily, discard my Underdog, turn 4, blitz my Underdog, get a card back that I discarded, and now like I've got a little engine set up for a while.
Yep. I think like what's even more important than her place in Standard though is she is now legal in Pioneer, which does a whole bunch of things. Number one of the best decks in Pioneer makes better, which I don't know is good or not, but
Rakdos is currently like the most played deck in Pioneer according to Goldfish.
Yeah.
By a pretty wide margin.
Yeah.
And my experience with Explorer is it is a widely played deck in Explorer by a pretty wide margin.
How many more people do you think will pick up the deck now that Lily is legal in it?
I think everyone who likes Reed Duke and is going to be like, oh, like
I think you
Lily's
mean the
playable.
Jund father.
The Jund father, yes,
Yeah.
Captain America himself.
Yeah.
I think that the more people are going to pick it up, I think the deck changes. Like, it can't just be all 3-drops.
Yeah, and like that's the hard part, is because that deck is very heavy in the 3-drop slot right now.
Mm-hmm. And like none of the 3-drops are like bad. Like, there's not like a 3-drop that you look at and go like, I can do without this.
Yeah.
Right. But it's gonna end up being like, oh, I'm gonna like trim a Chandra or two. I'll trim a graveyard trespass or cemetery trespass, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
To like get to my lilies that way. Also like Lily into Kalidas, down take Lily.
Yes.
Right, like that gets you your zombie right away.
Yep.
Right, like you plus the Lily the turn before to like maybe clear the way for your Kalidas.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just Kalidas, get your zombie, proceed to Victory Town.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah. Lily is, while powerful, is from a different era of Magic design.
Yeah.
When cards required you to have skill to play them.
For sure.
Right? Like, there are times that you should look at your Liliana, look at your hand, and say, go, and not activate it. Right?
Many turns I have done that.
Yes. Right? There are...
I do not have a card in my hand that is worse than a random card out of your hand.
Yes. And, like, you can mess up the Lily pile.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What does, like, the 6-mana Lily do? It's, like, get rid of all but one of each permanent type.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of hard to mess that one up.
Yeah.
Right? But this Lily, you can definitely split the pile wrong.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty easy
and, like,
to also.
Yeah, and, like, put yourself in a bad situation.
Yeah.
So, right, this card's gonna play different than, like, the Okos of the world. That, like, there was just no wrong way to activate that 3-mana, or, like, Teferi.
Yeah.
Right, 3-mana Teferi, I don't really know if you can screw up activating that card.
Just pick one, it'll be all right.
It'll be fine.
Yep.
Right, Lily, like, you can, because her ability is, her first ability is symmetrical, like, you will sometimes just have to go, like, I'm not marching towards the ultimate because there is a downside to that march.
Yep.
Where most Planeswalkers just tick up and eventually you'll win the game.
Yeah.
So just be aware that it's not quite as, click Planeswalker, click plus ability.
Right.
Good things happen.
No.
Sometimes you
some
plus
thought
and
behind
bad
it.
things happen. Yeah.
The other thing we also mentioned in pre-show with Liliana is that she kind of slots in nicely to like Greasefang decks.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of does everything that you need to do in Greasefang. It pitches, whatever vehicle that you need pitched. It, clears a board to give you a little bit of breathing room while you're assembling your pieces. Pretty solid if you're trying to make that deck a little bit more mid-range.
And also, in standard, I know, the Esper control, right? You could definitely take your Ledger Shredders and your Rafines and just make your deck Liliana, Kaito, and the Wandering Emperor.
Yeah.
And good things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then removal.
Yep.
It'll be fine.
Yep.
You will find a way.
Yep.
So, I think that deck is going to be very good with 3 modern playable Planeswalkers in it.
Yeah.
So get good with Lily.
Yep. It's a fun card to play with too. I know from experience. I've cast many Lilianas.
Yes.
Next up is Shadow Prophecy. 2 and a black for an instant with Domain. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. Put up to 2 of them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. You lose 2 life.
It is. I know that in the who was it in the Discord that was like, this is the worst Read the Bones ever printed.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
I like in mono black. You play. Oh no, Read the Bones is a sorcery, right?
It is.
So like,
And Read the Bones is also Scry. It doesn't go to your graveyard.
oh, this is Surveil.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and you get to look at them. So like, you get to look at, if you're mono black, you look at 3 cards all at once and pick 2.
No, if you're mono black, you only look at 1 card.
Oh,
It's Domain.
Oh, okay. Put 2 of them into your. How does that work? So you look at 1 card, but then you would put
Up to 2 of them into your hand.
Oh, okay. Reading is fundamental and very hard.
Reading the card explains the card.
So maybe I'm on like bad Read the Bones.
You think so?
Right?
I don't think so.
Well, so in black, it is in mono black. It is worse than Read the Bones.
Sure.
Right? You're not going to pay 3 mana, put a card in your graveyard.
Right.
And
lose 2 life.
In lose 2 life. In a 2-color deck, it is Divination. Lose 2 life.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to put the cards in your graveyard.
Right.
At 3 lands, at 3 land types, so like you have a Triome in play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you are better than Read the Bones.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because Read the Bones, you look at 2 cards and make your decision off the scry.
Mm-hmm.
This, you look at 3 cards all at once, so you have more information to make a better decision.
Yeah, it also puts cards right into your graveyard if you're looking to do things with Greasefang or Storm Herald.
But I feel like you only want, like, those decks are 3 colors.
Mm-hmm.
But so like in those decks, if you were going to play a Read the Bones type card,
mm-hmm.
I think you would play Shadow Prophecy over it, because more than likely it's going to be better. But like in a 1 or a 2 color deck, I think Read the Bones is better.
Yeah.
So it's probably like, you know, the like strictly worse, strictly better thing is always dangerous. Right. But I think like in 1 and 2 color decks, you'd rather have Read the Bones. In a 3 or a 4 color deck, you'd rather have this. And like the putting cards in your graveyard doesn't matter until you get to 3 land types. Because like, you know, 3 mana, put top card of your library in your graveyard, lose 2 life is not a card.
Right.
3 mana, put the top 2 cards in your of your deck into your graveyard, lose 2 life isn't a card.
True.
So 3 mana, look at 3, presumably put 1 in your graveyard.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 if they're both like graveyardable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and replace itself, maybe is a card.
Yeah.
So it's weird, right? Like, now, am I gonna get like annihilated by this when my opponent in like a draft like somehow has 3 land types on turn 3 and casts Dig Through Time? Yes, I will get annihilated. The game will end when they cast a 3 mana Dig Through Time on turn 3 in limited, when they're like black, white, tap land, blue, red, tap land, forest.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, well, these things happen. Or like, you know, a 3 mana Memory Deluge.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's gonna be a lot of times where it's just like,
I don't know, like,
doesn't have text.
Also keep in mind that like triomes are a thing now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like,
and like if you're in a 2-color deck, like maybe it's worth, you know, throwing a triome or 2 into your mana base for the off chance.
I think if you had other domain cards,
yeah,
I think so. Like if you were like a base green-black deck and you had multiple domain cards,
Mhm.
and then like maybe like okay, I can like throw in two of the, of course I thought triomes, and like two proving grounds and two whatever the other one is.
Is it
It's red
Zagoth?
black.
Oh, the Mardu one.
Like no, like so no. There's like so I'm thinking of the triomes, right? There's like Endatha is Abzan,
right.
and Savai is Mardu.
Savai is Mardu. I think
And then
Zagoth is
Zagoth. Right.
Sultai.
So here, let's prove how bad Wizards is at stuff. Name 3 triomes from New Capenna. I will give you Rafine's Tower.
Yep. Zeator's Proving Ground.
Zeator's Proving Ground, that's the Jund one. I have no idea what the Bant one's called. No clue, and I play that card.
Yep.
Like, in my head, I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's the Bant one.
Yep.
I have no idea what the name is. And then I can't like Xander's Lounge.
Oh yeah, Xander's Lounge. Isn't there like a boxing ring? Oh no, that's the Proving Ground.
And then oh gosh, Jetmir's Garden.
Jetmir's Garden. Yep, that's a Naya one.
So much work that is set is currently in standard, and like there's Rogoth or whatever triome is the Jeskai one. I think we named all of them, didn't we? Did we miss one?
Savai, Zagoth.
Endatha.
What's the Teamer one?
Oh.
We're missing the Teamer one.
Ketria.
Ketria, yep.
Right. And that set's like 2 years. That set was right when the world ended.
Yes.
Right? This other set came out, was the last set release I cared about. and I can't, like, it's a struggle to name them.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity. But yeah, you could definitely play triomes to make this work. But I think you'd have to have other
domain
to play cards.
Triomes.
Yeah, because like, I don't know if this is good enough to drive you in that direction. Like, it's kind of, remember, oh gosh, the Converge card, Painful Truths.
Yeah.
Right. This is like Painful Truths, but like
I think this is better
harder.
I think this is better than Painful Truths, though.
Probably. The Painful Truths would get you 3 cards from time to time.
Painful Truths wasn't an instant, though.
Yeah.
And it didn't let you bin any cards.
Fair. But like it's kind of in that like same realm where like Painful Truths definitely like
Painful Truths was also a rare, and this is a common.
Painful Truths happened in like 2016.
Yeah.
Like none of those cards are playable now.
That's true.
Like,
other than Kalidas.
I guess there's.
And there was another card that sees play from then.
Monastery Mentor in Vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like not a lot of those cards see play. But yeah, this card is weird. I don't know if it has this like if there is like a deck that is like playing like 8 triomes and can like work it out that this card is just dig through time.
Yeah, I mean it's awkward that this is black and that's the one color your elementals deck doesn't play.
Yeah. Boo. Boo. I could definitely use this. All right.
Yep.
What else do we have? What do we got now?
Shieldred the Apocalypse.
Okay.
2 black for a 4/5 Phyrexian Praetor with Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life.
I feel lied to because like there was that like
the leak that was so much better than this card.
So much better.
Yeah. It's so weird because like Vorinclex and Jin-Gitaxias were both like back-breaking unbeatable cards. And then Urabrask was kind of whatever, and this is like Not great.
Equally whatever.
Yeah, this is Siege Rhino with more work. It's like
Siege Rhino, but with steps.
Yeah, just worse Siege Rhino.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, the dumbest ability to put on a 4/5 is Death Touch.
Yeah, like when is that ever relevant? It's like putting Death Touch on Ulamog.
Like, he's a 10/10. He got the job done. It's fine.
No, Death Touch.
Death, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this card's kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
Though I do feel like Shieldred has gotten more buggy.
Well, they had to rebuild her.
Okay.
Traveling through the blind eternities, tore her apart. They had to rebuild her.
Okay, and they just basically stuck like the world's largest cockroach on the bottom half.
Well, yeah, they found Grist. And they were like, my insect friends.
Really? Is that Grist?
No.
No. I was like, what? It's like, okay, you had me.
Yeah. No.
Like this could be the guy from Men in Black.
Yeah. Edgar.
Yeah, the guy who's just all bugs.
Yeah.
So this is one of those that's like dangerous to say, but this feels like commandery. Right? Like in a multiplayer game, like Shieldred like pings all of your opponents for 2. Like 6 life is lost before you get back to your turn.
Yeah.
And that feels pretty solid.
Yeah, actually, this might be cool in Commander, because aren't there, like, how many of those, like, Lich-style cards do we have?
Oh, that, like, you draw cards when, like, people lose life and stuff?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, and, like this, I think this plays well with them.
Mm-hmm. What is that? The one that's, like you exile cards from your graveyard, but when you gain life, you draw cards?
Yeah, so you just kill yourself. Never mind. You just draw your entire library.
Yeah. No better way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just like the one that was like, I guess the fake that was spoiled was like, was better. It's like, oh, this is better than Kalitas. Now it costs 1 more mana, but this is better than Kalitas.
Yeah.
This card does not a Kalitas beat.
No, definitely not. So much so that I think we can move on.
Okay.
Next up, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but it's Shieldred's Restoration. 3 and a black with kicker 2 and a white. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was kicked, you gain life equal to that card's mana value. Otherwise, you lose that much life. And then exile Shieldred's Restoration. I just wanted to note that the uncommon reanimation spell was 4 mana in this set, whereas normally it's 5.
I mean, that is a big difference.
Yeah.
The life loss might matter, but I don't know if I get back a big enough thing, it doesn't.
Right. Yep. So I just wanted to note that it was 4 mana instead of 5.
Why does it exile? Like, are we?
I don't know.
Are we getting?
Do we have a card that like
we have
Snapcasters or Torrential Gear Hulks?
The dumb Sphinx in Alchemy or whatever in Historic.
I think that's a jumpstart card though.
Yeah, but like I don't think there's one in Standard. Like we must be getting one.
Yeah, maybe.
Where like they didn't want you to just like someone was like discarding this and then like chaining them.
Yeah.
Or something.
I mean, it's almost gotta be.
Yeah, but it is weird that they were like, because these spells never exile themselves.
Yeah, very strange.
So, yes, but like 4 mana reanimation, probably good.
Yep. Last card in black is Stronghold Arena, 1 and a black for an enchantment with kicker green or white. When Stronghold Arena enters a battlefield, you gain 3 life for each time it was kicked. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. If you do, lose life equal to its mana value.
Sold.
This is super sweet for 2 mana. Like, this is everything your deck with 16
2 1s for 1.
2 1s for 1 ever could want.
Right? Like, I think that there is an argument that this could be just like a sideboard card.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean is, like, if you're playing against control,
mm-hmm.
right? If you get to go 1 drop this draw card,
mm-hmm.
like, that game's over.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's just gonna snowball. But, like, against, like, like, I don't know if you want this in the main deck a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, against, like, an aggro deck, it might not do anything. Right? Other than, like, if you're a 2-color deck, like if you're black-white, maybe it's secretly just, like, maybe I'll draw a card, but it'll gain me 3 life.
Yeah.
And that'll matter.
A little bit.
Yeah. But, like, sneaking it in against control, where you can, like, just snowball a creature and draw cards.
Yeah, it's a beating.
It seems, like, really solid.
Yep. And this is when 1 or more, so it only happens once per turn.
Yeah. So, like, you don't even, like have to feel, like, kind of compelled to, like, stretch wide and, like, stretch yourself out. Like,
right.
you could just,
you just
like,
got to get one thing through.
Like, threat this into, like, a threat or 2.
Yeah.
And then keep your hand full, and they have to deal with the creatures, and then this is still on the battlefield. Or they deal with this and they die.
This kind of sneakily plays well with the black defiler, though.
Oh, because you give stuff menace?
Yeah, you give your dudes menace, which might be relevant.
Yeah.
Keep it in mind for the future.
Yeah, but I think this card, like, this is very much like a mono black aggro kind of card.
Absolutely.
Right,
This is we mentioned experimental frenzy earlier. This is your experimental frenzy.
Yeah, or I was going to say, like, it's Phyrexian Arena.
Yeah.
Or Underworld Connections, like one of those kind of cards.
Yep. All right, moving on to red, and we're counting down. Definitely on the downhill side of this.
Yes, we are.
Electrostatic Infantry. 1 in a red. Infantry. For a 1/2, Dwarf Wizard with Trample. Why does a 1/2 have Trample? Because whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
This card is nuts.
It is.
We have seen this card at, I think, uncommon and common before.
Not with counters, though.
No, Pyrehound. There's 2 of them.
Oh, yeah,
There's Pyrehound and there's another one. One's from Innistrad and one's from a more recent set. But they're like 4 mana, they get counters, and limited they're just like a beating.
Yep.
But, like, this card, like, there's mono red, like, spells decks that are like Monastery Mentor, Soulscar Mage.
That, like, mono red prowess deck that was around for a while.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is just, like, it's kind of a runaway Steamkin that is not gated at being a 4/4.
Right.
Right? It's just how big can you get this thing?
Yep.
Right? Like, you could just have, like, you know, some, like, 16 to 20 creatures between, like, Steamkin, this, Dreadhorde Arcanist, and then just all the stupid 1-mana red cards that say draw a card on them.
Yep.
Hey, my guys have First Strike. My guys have Trample.
Yep.
Oh, this one gets +1/+0, and, like, just draw a card, and this thing gets huge.
Yep.
Right? Or, like, in that, like, blue-red Spell Slinger deck with Haughty Jin. Right? Like, this is your Enigma Drake. Right? Like,
yeah, Trample is kind of evasion if it's big enough.
Right?
Anything's evasion if it's big enough, right?
Yeah, and you need, like, to cast 2 spells to have it, like, be Enigma Drake sized.
Yeah.
So, like, this card is, like, thank God it's not a common, because there'd only be 1 deck in Pauper. But
this is true.
This card seems really pushed.
Yep, I agree. Next up, we have Jaya. Was it 2 weeks ago we talked about Jaya?
I think we talked about it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't need to spend a ton of time on Jaya here, but 2 red, 4 loyalty. +1, create a 1/1 red mask. Is it mask? No, monk.
Monk.
Creature token with prowess. -1, exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them. You can play that card this turn. Neg 2, choose target creature an opponent controls whenever you attack this turn. Jaya deals damage equal to the number of attacking creatures to that creature. And Neg 8, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a red instant or sorcery spell, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copies.
On one hand, like the abilities kind of like go against each other, right? Like the top ability is a prowess monk, so you want to cast spells.
Right.
The Neg 2 is have a bunch of creatures.
Right.
But I was sitting here thinking, like, what about like, one of the red make 2 goblins? Or
Dragonfire,
right, like
Franco's command.
Yeah, like just I can get the spells to make the monks good by playing a bunch of token generators. Maybe this is more of like a go wide tokeny like kind of planeswalker.
Yeah. What was the one from Ikoria? Tentative Connection? No. Yeah, it made a human and a dinosaur.
Yes, was it Tentative? No, Tentative Connection was something else. I think that was like the Forbidden Friendship.
Forbidden Friendship, that's what it was.
Because it made a hasty dinosaur, and then a like 1/1 human.
Yep.
Who knew what he did was wrong.
Ew, gross.
The dinosaur didn't know. The dinosaur was just happy to have a friend. Yeah, so like stuff like that where like maybe it's like you like have your creatures as spells.
Yeah, raise the alarm type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I mean, or even like it's not a spell, but the new like flash 1/1 that makes a 1/1 in white. It's a creature, but like it gives you multiple bodies to make the Neg 2 better. Right, because like you want something where you're like attacking with 3 things and eating a 3 toughness thing.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to be able to go wide enough to make that happen.
Yep. No, I think this card's solid. It has like the typical red planeswalker ability that you want of, getting some sort of temporary card advantage. The ultimate is game ending.
So what's better, Chandra, Torch of Defiance, or this?
I think it depends on the deck. I'm leaning towards Chandra.
That's my thought as well. Like the card draw ability is a plus.
Yeah.
The like kill a creature thing is less conditional.
Yep. The mana is not irrelevant either.
Yeah, I've definitely had opponents like Chandra plus stomp something.
Yeah.
Right. And like the 1/1 is good, but Chandra doesn't have that. Like Chandra swaps mana for the 1/1.
Yeah. And
on some level, like that mana can just end up being a removal spell or a creature to protect her.
Right.
So like Chandra can just cost air quotes 2 mana. So
yeah,
I think like Jaya's probably a standard power level planeswalker, but not like a like eternal playable.
Wild to think.
Yes, this four ability planeswalker, like I guess all but like Big Garrick that have had 4 abilities have like seen like substantial like older format play.
Yeah.
Jace, it's just Jace, Chandra, now Jaya, and Big Garuk, right? Is there another 4 ability planeswalker that I'm not thinking of?
I feel like there is, but I can't think of it right now.
Yeah. Also, rest in peace, Jaya.
Yeah. Sorry about your luck.
Yeah. All right. What do we got next?
This is one you were looking for. Keldon Strike Team, 2 and a red for a 3/1 with kicker 1 and a white. When Keldon Strike Team enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, make 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. As long as it entered the battlefield this turn, creatures you control have haste. I know why you like this.
Yes. So I talked about this before. So in again that Neoform deck that's only is trapped in historic.
Yep.
Right. You would combo off, get all of your creatures or whatever, and then the last thing that you would get is you would get, there you go, I had to look it up. Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort.
Yep.
Right? Which is defenders and creatures you control have haste. And that the way that your opponents could kill you is they could just kill your Rubble Fort.
Yep.
Right? So I had said, like, hey, it would be great if they made a creature that it ETB'd and gave all your creatures haste till end of turn. This does it one better.
Yep.
Right? Because they just get haste. So it could be the first creature that like you played, and then every creature after it has haste.
Yep.
So like it just kind of gives this like blanket, everything has haste this turn.
Mm-hmm.
So like it gets to come in and you don't have to worry about your opponent killing your Rubble Fort.
Yep.
So it changes the way the deck plays because then they like try to kill something else. But it does like kind of fix that problem with the deck.
Yep.
Now they just.
I mean, that's all it does, though, right? It doesn't go anywhere else.
I don't think it goes anywhere else.
Yeah.
I don't think it is good. I think it is that niche thing where we just needed to put like Dualcaster Mage.
Yeah.
In a format that doesn't have make believe cards.
Unless we can find some sort of sweet like Naya Chatterstorm deck.
Oh, go on.
Oh, I have no idea if it exists,
I know.
But
we could try.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all. I like this card just for like it fixes that thing. It's been something I've talked about before. So They gave me the answer.
Yep. Next up is Phoenix Check. I couldn't remember if we talked about this in pre-show last week or on the actual show.
I remember.
I just wanted to mention it because I thought it was unique. Red mana for a 1/1 flying haste, which is like already a decent rate. Evasion, haste, 1 mana, 1/1. It can't block, and whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you can pay red. If you do, return Phoenix Check from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking with a +1/+1 counter on it. This is just mono red aggro.
I have been looking at my cube trying to figure out how to get this card in.
Yeah, I think this card's sweet.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I remember way back when playing like Chandra's Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is just better than that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close.
It's always getting in. Like your opponent's not going to have any flyers early, and then randomly comes back later. I think the card's sweet. It's a cool design.
Agreed. I think it does a lot of neat things, and like again, like we went from Raging Goblin, to this.
Power creep is real.
Very real.
Rada's Firebrand is next. 1 and a red for a 3/1 human warrior. Whenever it attacks, target creature defending player controls with power less than Rada's Firebrand's power can't block this turn. And it has domain for 5 and a red. Rada's Firebrand gains +2/+2 until end of turn. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each basic land type. Among lands you control, activate only once each turn.
This card is weird.
Yeah, I don't know that you're ever really activating the domain ability, but this is like repeatable on-crop crasher for less mana, but you don't have haste.
It's like Earthshaker Kenra.
Yeah, but this does it every time it attacks, not just when it ETBs.
Yeah, like it's like repeatable Earthshaker Kenra.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the same writer, right? It's like has to have less power than it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like again, mono red aggro, like basically you just get to get a blocker out of the way like every turn.
Mm-hmm.
And like the games where you go like chick into this, then like 3-drop, you don't have to remove their like 2-drop, like you just attack around it.
Yeah.
Right? And then on like turn 4 you can be like, all right, I guess I'll kill your 3-mana creature.
Mm-hmm.
Get in again, and now you're dead.
Yep.
So
I mean it's not powerful enough for Eternal formats, but
it'll see but I think play. Like if we transition from like mono white being the de facto aggro deck
Mm-hmm.
to like mono red, it'll be on like the back of cards like this.
Yep. And possibly this next card.
Yeah.
Squee Dubious Monarch. 2 and a red for a 2/2 goblin with haste. And whenever it attacks, make a 1/1 goblin that's tapped and attacking. And you can buy this back out of your graveyard. You can cast it from your graveyard by paying 3 and a red.
3 and a red.
And
3 and a red.
exiling 4 other cards from your graveyard rather than paying its mana cost.
So it has 3 and a red, escape 4.
Yep.
So I did not realize that it had this like make a 1/1 goblin text.
Mm-hmm. You thought it was just Squee coming back.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. In mono red prison in Legacy, is this better than what's his name? No, he's not better than Grabbelmaster.
Yeah. Legion Warboss.
But is it better than Legion Warboss?
Probably.
Right, like it deals. Right, I mean, there's an argument that it's better than Rabblemaster, right? Because it deals 3 damage when it comes into play.
Yeah,
but Rabblemaster catches up the next turn.
Right.
Right.
And ends
but
the game the turn after that.
But this is still ahead for the first 2 turns, right? This deals 3, and then if nothing goes wrong, 7 across 2 turns. And oh no, Rabblemaster ties because it deals 1, then 4.
Yeah.
1 then 6. So, but like, what's his name? Legion Warboss deals 1, then, well, I guess they're kind of the same. It deals 1, then 5. It's close. Yeah. But, like, this is in the conversation. Like,
well,
it is awkward that it's legendary.
Because it's harder to kill. It's sticky.
It gets to come back, yeah. So, right, like, maybe you trim, like, 2 Legion Warbosses for 2 Squeeze. Because you can't play, like, a full 4.
Right.
But, like, it's the right mana cost for that deck.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it deals 3 damage the turn it comes into play is important.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty gnarly to go Phoenix Chicken to Radis Firebrand into Squee.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's just dirty. That'll end a game right there.
Yeah, they've taken 1, and then they take 7 on turn 3.
Yeah.
That they more than likely can't block. Like, if you're on the play.
Right.
They go, like, 1. They take 1, 1, 7.
Yep.
Neat. Yeah, no. Squee is way more powerful than I thought he was.
Yeah, me too. I really didn't realize he was this powerful. One of our listeners had chimed in asking about Squee, specifically comparing it to Rabblemaster and Warboss. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize it had that text.
Neither did I. Like, I was so, like, infatuated with the, like...
things.
Yeah, Squee coming back, I didn't realize, like, what happened to, like, Squee used to just be a bumbling doof.
Yeah, now he's dubious monarch.
Yeah, now he's, like, a king with, like, a bunch of little, like, goblins to attack with.
I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're immortal.
I guess.
You turn from a bumbling idiot into a monarch.
You eventually get there.
Yep.
It's like Ra's al Ghul. Like, not that he was... Like, you eventually just become rich because you've been around so long.
Yeah.
Compound interest working wonders for you. If you're around for 1,000 years, that interest works out. Yeah, like, I think this might have a home as, like, a 1 of or 2 of in, like, Legacy Mono Red.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And, like, you know, Legacy removal, like, a lot of the control removal, like, exiles, but, like, you know, if, like, they just bolt it or they, like, trade for it in combat.
Yep.
You know, hopefully, eventually, like, just through playing the game, you know, get to draw 1 extra card that happens to be a 2/2 haster that makes a 1/1 at some point.
Yep.
And yeah, and, like, mono red and standard, I agree. I think it'll fit there nice.
Yep. Moving on to green, just a few more cards here. Colossal Growth, 1 and a green with kicker red. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. If this was kicked, instead that creature gets +4/+4, trample, and haste. It's an instant, which, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously it's a combat trick, so that's relevant. What do we think about Colossal Growth?
I think it. I think has haste until end of turn is trinket text.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's gonna be very rare that you play something and then have 3 mana left
To pump it and swing.
to pump it and like end the game.
Yeah.
So like I don't know how much that matters.
So basically, this is a 2-mana giant growth because the
Yeah.
kicker is not super relevant.
I think the trample is.
Oh,
Right,
that's
like,
true. Yeah.
Right, like I think that it's like Titanic growth is +4/+4.
Yeah, but isn't
Or
Titanic
one of
growth
the-
a sorcery?
No, that's larger than life.
Oh, okay.
Larger
Yeah.
than life is +4/+4 gives trample as a sorcery from Kaladesh.
Yeah.
And then Titanic growth is 1 and a green +4/+4,
Instant.
no modifier.
Yeah.
So like it's it's somewhere in between the two.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good enough. Like
Yeah,
I don't know
think it's
like
good enough.
again, another card that I will confidently block in a limited game and then die.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna get me anywhere but there.
Yep. I agree.
Though free electrostatic pummeler, please.
Yeah. Next one we did talk about last week. I believe it was on the show when we were talking about Domain. Llanowar Green Widow. 2 and a green, 4/3 reach trample. With Domain 7 green, or 7 and a green. Return Llanowar Green Widow from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. It gains if this permanent would leave the battlefield. Exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each basic land type among lands you control.
Like this is a beating, right?
It is, yeah.
Like okay, like it is
No, even without the recursion text, like this card is above rate.
I mean, it is. Oh, what is it called? The green 4/4 that like dies into an enchantment.
Old Growth Troll. Yeah.
Right. It's some part of that you can play in a Gruul deck.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Old Growth Troll also like recurs itself, but like you can only play that in like mono green.
Right.
Right? Like this you can play in green black, green red. Like it's just a way more flexible card.
Yeah.
And like I have no problem I'd have no problem spending 8 mana to get this back on turn 15.
Right.
Or turn 12, right? Like just like having draw a 4/3 reach trample out of my graveyard is fine.
Yep.
Like, sure, please. So, I think that, again, this is one of those cards that, like, depending on how the format shakes out, it might not be good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's definitely a chance that it just, like, doesn't work out. But there's also a chance that, like, this is what the format's about.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's just like, oh, like, they had this, like, my Rada couldn't attack because it just traded.
Right.
My Phoenix Chick couldn't attack.
Yep.
I got stoneballed by this. I killed it, but by that time they had like stabilized, and then like 3 turns later they brought it back, and I was in the same like mess.
Yeah.
Also, another please give me a blue glass bead to track the fact that this card now exiles itself.
Yeah, like I said, you pull it out of the sleeve.
It is. I guess it is Scarab God.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, I guess this is a zombie now.
Yep.
But yeah, this card just seems like a beating.
Yep. Moving on to our last green card. And I believe this is one that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
You want to read it off?
Sure. Silverback Elder, 2 green for an Ape Shaman. 5/7.
Ooh, that's a lot of stats for 5
That is a lot. That is. We're in Gargaroth territory.
Yep.
right? Whenever you cast a creature spell, choose one, destroy an artifact or enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, put a land from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order, or you gain 4 life. Like, this is a lot of Gargaroth, though Gargaroth is more like self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
It's like somewhere, like, it's like a Kogla, kind of. Right,
I think this is like easier to play in a deck than Kogla is, though. Like Kogla asks some pretty specific things from you.
Doesn't he just ask to attack, though?
I don't know. I
Like
thought he had like weird text about like bouncing a creature or something.
I thought Kogla, like, we're talking about the monkey that, like, fights or, like, blows up an enchantment.
Yeah,
Right?
don't you have to like bounce a creature to do something?
I don't think. Kogla, Ape Titan. Enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. When it attacks, destroy target artifact creature. And then you can return a human, 1 in the green, return target human you control to its owner's hand. Kogla gains indestructible.
Oh, okay.
He's 3 green, green, green.
Yep.
Like, I like this card. I guess I don't know what its home is.
Yeah, I don't know what deck
it does like have the same like problem as like the defilers,
mm-hmm.
right? Where like now I've played my 5-drop, I have to have gas behind it.
Right.
But like also a 5/7 for 5.
Right.
Takes care of a lot of problems on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then like if you cast a spell, like you've done it. Like also,
man, can you imagine like chaining Burning Tree emissaries after having this guy out?
Oh. gain 4, gain 4, gain 4.
Or gain 4, blow an enchantment up. Or put 2 lands into play, blow an enchantment up.
Yeah, seems very good.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know what his home is, but like it just seems like it's like too much stuff.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be in a situation where I like look back and I'm like, I was so wrong about Elder Gargaroth. Right? Like where like this is just like, oh, I'm a wall of text. I probably have a home somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Next card here. What do we got? This is a big one.
Karn Living Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 4 mana Planeswalker.
Do we have a sad trombone to play?
I don't know. Do you have one?
Boo. Okay. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
4 mana Planeswalker, 4 loyalty. +1, create a tapped Power Stone token. We told you about those last week. It's a mana rock that you can only cast, or you can't use for non-artifacts, is what it is.
Yes.
-1, pay any amount of mana, look at that many cards from the top of your library, then put 1 of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And -7, you get an emblem with tap an untapped artifact you control. This emblem deals 1 damage to any target. He doesn't protect himself.
He doesn't do anything.
Well, sure, he makes game objects and then uses them to deal 1 damage to things.
I mean, you can right, like
Yeah, he basically does nothing.
yeah, like his minus requires you to pay mana.
Yeah.
Which is what like the joke is, right? You use the plus to get power stones to fuel the minus.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't do anything.
Right.
Right? If I'm like, what was that? Oh god, was Vivian's bow or something?
Mm-hmm.
Vivian's arc bow that was like you pay like X mana and you look at the X top cards of your library, then you put
card.
Yeah, but you then put the card into play.
Right.
Right? You're paying mana to look at the top X cards of your library and just putting that card into your hand.
Right.
I guess you could go like plus, minus, tap the Power Stone, draw the top card of your library.
Yeah. But I mean, that's
But like,
almost nothing.
yeah, I mean, that's just like minus draw a card.
Yeah.
Which is like not where you want to be.
Right.
And like, you don't want to plus this 3 times to get to the ultimate.
Right.
Because the ultimate doesn't do a whole lot. Like, I guess you're dealing 3 a turn with your Power Stones.
Yeah.
I've seen people say this might be one of the worst 5 Planeswalkers ever printed. I don't know if I'd go that far.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far.
But it's pretty awful.
I think like War of the Spark Kaya is pretty bad.
Yeah. Tybalt, our boy from back in the day.
Yeah. I
I
don't know. There's some stinkers.
There are, but this one is pretty bad. Hobo
This one is
Jace.
pretty bad, yeah. Kesmina. Strixhaven
Yeah.
Kesmina was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Living Guild Pack Jace was pretty bad.
Oh, yeah. But, like, I don't know. This, not that I needed, like, another, like, format-defining 4-mana Karn.
Right. Already have enough
like,
of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember the Dominaria Karn
Was great.
was great.
Yep.
Was getting played in Legacy until they printed the bustiest of cards.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this one's just dumb.
Yep.
I guess I'll play it. Oh, it's a Null Rod that gets me artifacts. Neat.
Cool.
Yeah. My Null Rod draws me 2 cards.
Yep.
So, yeah, this card just, I don't know, like, what it was supposed to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It just, I guess we should be happy that in an era where they've just turned every knob to 11.
They turned Karn down.
They're like, you know what? We already have 1 card that sees placed everywhere. Let's not make it all Karn all the time.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, it's like, slow it down.
All right. We have 2 cycles left, but we're only going to talk about 2 cards. The first is the common lands.
Okay.
Relevant because they have basic land types for domain, presumably. That's it. There comes into their gates with basic land types instead of gate types. They'll do their job in limited. I don't know that they'll do much more than that.
Is Tribal Flames a common? I'm looking.
I'm not sure. Probably.
Tribal Flames is a common. Right? Like, maybe there's a world where these can, like, these lands combined with the Snow Duels from Kaldheim, which also had basic land types.
Yeah.
Like, could give you enough basic lands with basic land types for Pauper.
Yeah.
Also, like, Farseek is a common.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, this makes Farseek a better card than Pauper.
Yep.
Right? Like, there's, like, red-green ramp decks that are playing Cleansing Wildfire to get their ramp on.
Yep.
Right? Now you just get to play, like, Farseek, and you have, like, 8 duels you can go get.
Makes sense.
Like, that's probably, like, they probably doesn't Farseek probably doesn't supersede that, but you might be able to, like, build a deck where you have Farseek getting your duels plus then Cleansing Wildfire to kind of, like, ramp you and get you through your deck.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you're right. They're just going to be like C play and limited.
I mean, this might be for a different episode, but they're probably relevant in Cube also. Different cubes.
Mm-hmm.
Last card are the Pain Lands.
You picked the worst one.
No way.
Pour one out for my homie.
Well, that's why I picked this one. Because that guy was the best, and now he's eternalized in a puddle of goo.
Yeah. So, if you don't know, Ice Age Sulphurous Springs has a demon chilling out in a hot spring.
Yep.
And the new one has the skeleton of a demon chilling out in, like, a tar pit.
Yep.
Very sad. we've come full circle with the
Ice Age was a long
lands.
time ago. He wasn't going to survive this long.
Hey, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the lifespan is on like a hot spring devil. He seemed to have a pretty low stress lifestyle,
Chilling out in
right?
his
Like,
hot spring.
chill out in his hot tub. So, right, we have, you said 6 of the pain lands.
We got 6 of them, and they're like random ones. Like, we don't have the allied or the enemy. They're just like 6 random ones.
This is the same thing they did with the pathways.
Yeah.
Right, they gave us like 6 in
Kaldheim.
Zendikar Rising, and then 4 in Kaldheim.
Yep.
I think was how it worked. And again, it was like some of the allied ones, and then like randomly one enemy one.
Yeah, like we have Sulphur Springs, Edakar Waste, and Carpulsan Forest, I think. Are the importantly, those are the ones that are not legal in Pioneer.
Yes.
So those are being added to Pioneer. And then I don't remember which 2 were being reprinted.
We have Caves of Quellos, Shivan Reef, and
Okay.
Yavimaya Coast.
Yep.
Which the full art version of Shivan Reef is pretty nice.
Yeah, I saw somebody posted just the art online. It was
it's like A+ job there.
Yeah.
These lands like encourage like aggressive 2-color decks.
Mhm.
Right? Like they don't penalize you for by coming into play tap, so they allow you to like play your red 1-drop into your like black 2-drop.
Yep.
Right? And so that could be good for like there was that red-white aggressive deck that was just like various things that had haste on it.
Mhm.
Like I don't know if you played against that deck. It was just like it had the like red like day night uncommon that like is a 3/3 and like gets a counter if it's like night or something, and just everything has haste. Right, this makes their mana better.
Yeah.
Like those kind of decks. Not that deck because we don't have Battlefield Forge, but like a red-black aggressive deck is going to play Sulphur Springs.
Right.
Over like some other like tapped duel or something.
Mm-hmm.
And since they hurt you, right, like if you're trying to make the game short by being aggressive, like you don't mind taking 3 damage because you're going to deal 20 damage before your opponent deals 17.
Yeah, and like,
or at least that's the plan.
Once your mana's to a point where like you don't need it to be making colored mana, you can just tap it for colorless and not take any damage anymore either.
Yeah. And like I think these also like could find their way into like Greasefang kind of decks.
Okay.
Right. We didn't get Caves of Quellos, did we? Or we did, right?
Yeah.
We did. So you have Caves and you have Adakar Ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're like trying to end the game on turn 3 or 4, right? Like taking 2 or 3 damage from your mana base to make sure you can cast all your spells with like untapped lands.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? Like you don't have the awkwardness of like a pathway where you're like, if I put this on black to cast my Citrus Supplier, I don't have white mana for my Rafine's Informant. Which one do I value more?
Yeah.
It's just like, no, Caves of Quellos, cast them both.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. You're fine. So,
yep.
Like, in those decks that are going to play a condensed game, these can be good to make sure that your mana is always untapped.
Yeah, or if you're, like, just trying to splash or something, too. These work out nicely for, you know, just, like, if you got a 1 of blue card in your whatever.
Yeah, like you...
green-white deck, then...
Right, like if you want to like splash negates, in your deck, you could play, you know, a couple pain lands to be your blue source.
Yeah, they'll fill a similar role to the pathways.
Yeah. So, and this is where the pathways go away. We're left with the
slow lands.
Slow lands.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, like if you have like this a swamp and like a slow land, like you can like be able to cast all of your spells.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you have access to your should have access to your colors. So
yep.
All right. And I think we've got a show.
Yeah, 3 hours in, we finally have a show.
Finally. I like how you have Liliana set up to go back to.
I didn't have it set up. I specifically clicked on Liliana to bring her back.
Okay. We got to go out with your girl. Yeah. Her in with her chain veil in the back.
That's right.
So that was everything. If you guys think we missed something, like, if you think you know what the next Ledger God, I can't ever say that card.
Ledger Shredder,
or like Fable of the Mirror Breaker that like we should be telling everyone to buy for $1.
Let us know.
Right, that we might have missed. Like, let us know.
Yep.
So we can let everyone know, and we can all reap the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, we don't mind revisiting any of this stuff too. If you guys had other opinions that you wanted to share or have us talk about, yeah, let us know. We will talk about them. I'm sure next week we're gonna have maybe not a ton. I think we both have busy weekends coming up, but we'll have some limited insights for you. And eventually we're gonna do a cube update episode, so you got that to look forward to. But in the meantime, anything out of this set that you guys wanted talked about that we didn't, or you think we were wrong on, or like Brian said, if you got a hot spec that you want us to share with everybody,
let us know.
Let us know. How can they do that?
They can check all of our social media links out down below. Like, there's the Discord, Twitter, Facebook. We do a pretty good job of answering all of those things. So if you get a hold of us there, we'll get back to you.
Yep, perfect. If you want to support the show, 2 ways to do it. TCG player affiliate link, tcg.CasualTryhardMTG.com. Head on over there to buy any of your singles. I know I'll probably be making a big order when this set comes out, and I will be doing it on TCG Player. Anything you purchase after following that link will get a percentage of help keep the show running. If you want to support us directly, if you think we do a good job and you want to hear more of us, patreon.com/CasualTryhardMTG. Patrons do get to hear more of us. They get access to our pre-show, which is about another hour of us every week rambling about whatever we feel like. They also get access to our pre-show, and every once in a while they get something sweet in the mail that I decide to send out. I hope you guys enjoy what you should be receiving any day now. So you got that to look forward to. Got anything else for this week?
Nope. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internets.